Well, a very good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Kimbolton for Event 7 of the Wera Tools Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. The UK summer has returned to us here for the fourth round of the season, the last round of the season for KZ2, the seventh round of the season for the X30 and Water Swift IAME categories. My name is Andrew Mather. Alongside me in the commentary box once again this weekend is Nicole Sutherland. Nicole, we had a little bit of a warm-up earlier for the TQs, but I'll ask you the same question again. Denmark, back to the UK. It's not the weather transition you were expecting, though, was it?
No, absolutely not, but I'm quite glad about it, to be on home soil in some nice warm weather, because that's not what it was like last week. This weekend then, we're at Kimbolton. This is a circuit we've visited a number of times now across the Wera Tools British Kart Championship in the past few years. Last year it was our Rotax classes. This year it's our IAMEs. So they will be hitting the 989.5 metre circuit that consists of 12 turns. Minimal elevation change within this track, only 3 feet, and a track with rich history. Was established in 1959 and has a bit of an American war-based history, I think, then, Andrew. Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of the old grand ladies of British karting, is Kimbolton. You're very right. First started seeing karting here in the late 1950s. The earlier history, though, built in the 1940s for the war effort, of course, and used by the United States Army Air Force from 1942 to 1946. Here, though, in 2025, we've got a big weekend in store. And down with us on the grid, on the roving reporter duties this weekend, is Mr. Piers Pryor. Piers, over to you.
Welcome, sports fans, here to the grid here at Kimbolton Kart Circuit. It's going to be an amazing weekend. James, the producer, has ordered the weather, and we've got a final bit of summer to look forward to. Perfect conditions to go kart racing here at the Wera Tools British Kart Championships. I'm Piers Pryor. I'm going to be talking you through all the action and behind the scenes and live reaction after the races. And I'm here with a very special guest, Chris McCarthy. Chris, Formula 2, Formula 3, Porsche Mobil and Super Cup, Olympic commentator, among other things. Chris, you've raced here before in the past in your previous racing days. Now you're a commentator the world over, but you're here for a different reason this weekend.
Yeah, first of all, it's great to be back. Thanks to Kimbolton for having us back. I raced here between 2008 to 2012. Lots of happy memories, but as you said, we are here. I'm here with fellow host of Purple Sectors, which was a fundraising event I put together last year to bring awareness to epilepsy in motorsport, something that hadn't really been talked about before. This year I'm now hosting that with Neil Cole, who is an esteemed presenter, and also Jenny Gow as well, another presenter within the world of Formula One. And we're going to be hosting another charity event at the end of the year. But today we're here to give back to the community, the motorsport community. We're doing a free media session to the paddock, which will take place at 5:30 today. So it's a bit of a walk-in. Anyone can come. We're just doing it for today, really. So if you want to come and get some tips on media, I mean, the coverage of karting has accelerated in the last few years from when I did it, thanks to the amazing work of the Alpha Live team. So if you want to come and get some tips from myself and Neil, we're both going to be here throughout the day, but at 5:30 we'll be doing more of a session, which Neil will be leading.
Chris, amazing to have you here. If anyone's around the paddock and they see Chris or Neil Cole around, please drop in and say hello, and also join in for that media session at 5:30. Great to get some tips from realistically the best in the business. Chris, Formula 2 commentator, Neil Cole, World Rally Championship, among hundreds of other things. Great to have Purple Sectors here this weekend. As I mentioned, we are here at Kimbolton. A happy circuit for both of us. I used to race here. It's my home circuit when I was growing up. A circuit that we don't visit every year in the British Kart Championships, but it's great to be back once again. I reckon we're going to be seeing some lap records being broken this weekend. We've come very close, if not beaten, some of them in practice and qualifying already. Perfect conditions, 25 degrees air temperature, slight breeze out over the back end of the circuit as well. Perfect conditions to go racing. I will be, as I said earlier on, be talking you through all of the gossip from the paddock, getting the live reaction after each of the races and interviewing the drivers, and anything that I spot throughout my time down on the Dunbury Good area. Nicole and Andrew will be talking you through all the races, and I'll hand back up to them so we can get prepared for the first race of this weekend.
Thank you very much, Piers. Great to have Chris back in the karting community, and great to have Purple Sectors here this weekend. Nicole, we've got some other things to note as well, though, haven't we, this weekend?
We do, yeah. Just highlight again what an initiative by Chris McCarthy and Purple Sectors. So for the drivers out there, make sure that you head down to the sessions available. But before we head into an exciting day and weekend of racing, I think the Wera Tools British Kart Championship, as well as Motorsport UK, Alpha Life, and Andrew and I want to highlight something very important, something that went out over social media yesterday as well. We know that the presence and the importance of highlighting mental health, not only within, wider society, but in sports, is really, really important. And our team want to notify all drivers, all members of our paddock and our community that we have resources available should anybody feel like they're mentally struggling, should anybody feel like they need a bit of support. Don't feel like you can't speak up. Don't feel like the team aren't there for you. Motorsport UK have a long list of resources available for anybody who feel like they might need it. We have a safeguarding team, but you can also head to the Motorsport UK website, type in Motorsport UK-support. There is a list of resources available for anybody within our community. This, of course, has been highlighted by some very sad news that was put out into social media yesterday. Unfortunately, a well-known driver in the international OKN and OK senior racing scene, Matilda Itzkovich, 16 years old, sadly lost her life to mental health struggles. So this weekend, before we head into things, let's just remember the importance of supporting everybody within our paddock. Let's head into some racing. Let's race for mental health. And this weekend, let's race for Matilda.
Absolutely. Very, very well said, Nicole. I'm sure everyone in this paddock as well, for those not aware, Matilda raced at PF International last September, representing her country in the inaugural OKN FIA World Cup. So from everybody here at the circuit, many of the people here at this circuit were working that last weekend in September as well. Matilda's friends, Matilda's family, you are in our hearts here this weekend. But as we say, let's do what our community, our racing spirit does best. Let's race here for this weekend. First heat of the weekend will be IAME Water Swift. 2 heats for every single category in the X30 ranks here this weekend. It's the first time the X30s have raced here. IAME has raced here since 2021. When we talk KZ2 later, they've obviously been here at least once every year since 2022, if I've got my facts correct. But yes, 2 heats for everybody today. It's a single header, Nicole, so it's a little bit different for what the IAME categories are used to. Do you think that changes anything in terms of how the drivers will tackle this weekend? Yeah,
I think certain drivers out there are going to be more than aware they've got one opportunity to get some good points on the board. So I feel like maybe those elbow out moments, that aggression maybe will ramp up a little bit more because the pressure is more heavily applied. But for the first time this weekend, Len, let's see how that plays out. Let's head into some Water Swift racing.
So, we kick off the racing part of Event 7 of the Wera Tools Motorsport UK British Kart Championships with Water Swift. One of the highlights of the season so far has been this category. It's close in the championship. It's a big weekend for them. Here's how they line up from TQ earlier on this afternoon. Colby Patterson starts on the front row, is joined by championship leader Austin Newstead. George Clark, continuing his good form from earlier on in the season, starts on row 2 alongside Mason Hibbert. Row 3, Austin Gibson, who carries our live camera for this one, and the new GP plate holder, Christian Kobe, won that 1 week ago at Kart Masters. Alfie Davidson and Charlie Clough, they form up row 4.
Row number 5 includes George House with Henry Clark, and then from 6 we have Luca Narroway with Joseph Davies. 7 will look like Harry Williams with Marjoris Kovekskis, and on row number 8 houses Effin Owen with Chester Fawkes.
Chester Fawkes, who took the E-plate at Shennington a few weeks ago. Dan Ferguson and Johnson Stewart go from row 9. Ilias Sami and Orion Meta on row 10. Oscar Kenny and Ruben Sagu row 11. Andy Stewart and Ethan Robinson row 12. Ada O'Brien, Danny Dempsey, Sophie Campbell and Jack Harney complete the 28-strong field. It will be 10 laps plus 1 lap, 10 minutes plus 1 lap. We are racing for the first time this weekend here at Kimbolton. It's a long run down to Stowe Corner to start the lap here at Kim. It's a good start for Colby Patterson, calm on the inside, looking pretty calm through the field as well there, Nicole. Clean start from the Water Swifts as they head down to Derek's corner for the first time.
Absolutely is then, but this is a bit of a theme that's happened this year so far, Andrew. It's one of the XLs in a sea of Fusion karts. There on your screens then, we have one of the Fusions with that on board chasing around George Clark out of the far corner down TKM straight into the sharp left-hander they will go, and it's still Colby Patterson that is holding on to that race lead, but he's under pressure as they exit this first lap. Drivers then heading out wide through the exit of the final corner using all of the road. Patterson leads from Clark. Gibson, your onboard camera sat there in P3. Then we have Mason Hibbert and Alfie Davison up 2 places as driver further back in the field in that mid-pack section find themselves under pressure. Harry Williams is having to battle it out with the likes of Luca Narroway, and Joseph Davies is trying to fight up the order for XL Motorsport as well. Onboard feed then in that P3 currently still no chase up to the back of George Clark for Austin Gibson. Clark still on top form as we head through this second part of the season. Up and looking strong there, tailing around the XL sat on that Energy Course chassis.
And just looking a little bit further down the order as there's a move there attempted by Alfie Davidson on his teammate Austin Gibson. Not a great start for Austin Newstead. Has fallen down into the mid-pack, but is starting to come up back through the field. Has just got back up into the top 10. Down the inside there, Mason Hibbert going for a move and holding at the moment in the top 5. Colby Patterson hasn't had a first position through any championship points awarding stage so far this year. He's had a few seconds and thirds and has been a very consistent feature in this Water Swift category so far in 2025, both on the national and continental stage. Can he start his race weekend with a win here? Just looking out of our commentary box window, Jack Harney is a little bit off the field. Unfortunately, I think Jack's had a problem for the XL Motorsport 181. Is still running, but now down in 28th place. End of lap number 3. Patterson leads from Clark, Gibson 3rd, Alfie Davidson and Mason Hibbert there in 4th and 5th. The GP plate holder, Christian Kobe's had a decent start, holding in 6th. George House as well. Always got to keep an eye on George House, particularly when he's there trying to drive through from what's 7th place at the moment. Charlie Clough, Austin Newstead and Harry Williams in the top 10. Good to see Williams back in British Kart Championships action, Nicole. Saw him race last weekend at Kart Masters. There's that amazing story with the repair in the repair area just to get him into that Grand Prix final. But good to see Williams back to the kind of pace that we saw earlier on in the season as there's a change for second place. Gibson through past Clark.
Absolutely is, and Gibson's move on Clark then has helped Alfie Davidson promote himself as well. That just shows that last corner. If you push somebody out a bit wider, they sacrifice some speed, and then that can happen as well as Hibbert goes down the inside at turn number 1. This maybe is the replay of that moment. So, like you can see, Gibson goes down the inside. Clark then loses some momentum, gets pushed further to the exit curb, lost more momentum as they headed down the main straight, and then Hibbert gets himself past Clark as well. Don't know if maybe Clark has returned the favour though. This is further back in your field. This is the pack that includes Christian Kobe for P7. Well then, Austin Newstead not having the race so far that he would have wanted. Has dropped 8 places within the opening stage of this. Did trade places previously with Harry Williams, but it looks like Williams, for the time being, has got back. As it looked like Alfie Davidson was hungry then into turn number 1, but thinks against it for the move for P2 on his teammate. Down then the Yamitsu straight, these drivers will go once more. Still Patterson not looking rattled at all out there in the front. They are bumper to bumper, like you can see on the screen with the live feed, but for the time being he's holding on to this one well as Davidson looks down the inside of his teammates of Gibson. Has he got the move done? Yep. Yes, he has. Yeah,
and here through comes Mason Hibbert as well in the 133. Gibson has another little look. Gibson, who of course the last time in Wera Tools British Kart Championships action took that double final victory at PF International about a month or so ago, so we know that Gibson is in good championship form and needs to be. At the moment, Newstead holds a 20-point lead in the championship over Patterson. And then Gibson a further 6 back, but a lot could change on this single round weekend before we head to the final double header of the season. Every single moment you'll be able to follow, of course, here on Alpha Live, including that one down the inside. Nice stuff from Mason Hibbert, up to 4th place and past George Clark.
Newstead then once more trying to turn up the dial, has picked up a place to get himself into P9 and puts in that purple lap as well. Newstead then just not quite on form this morning compared to qualifying, but has got this heat and another one left to come today to try and get himself further up, as we've got Fusion versus Fusion in towards the first corner. And there we have then, that was your onboard cameraman of Gibson getting pushed out really wide by teammate, I think that was Mason Hibbert, through the willows.
Yeah, really, really close stuff. And on board with Gibson once again, who's going to get 2 drivers there as they run down the far end of the circuit through the Dan Weldon corner. Just ahead of us there is George House in the 177 XL Motorsport machine, a kart that's been doing good things so far in 2025. And that's House down the inside of George Clark, now up to 3rd place. This is great news for Alfie Davidson and Colby Patterson, who are fighting over the race lead. House trying to hold on to 3rd here. A little bit of a crossed-up moment for George Clark. May drop him back from 4th place, but holds onto the position well ahead of Austin Gibson. Austin Newstead is still there as well. This has been good work from Austin Newstead to pull himself back up the order. Clearly didn't have a good start. Fell down to P13, but this is what Austin Newstead is all about. Looking to bounce back after the disappointments of last week, as there's the Bluebird on your screens in the bottom right corner of Luca Narroway, still with the Evolve Motorsport team, but running that special livery. As once again, Nicole, it's Water Swift. There's overtakes everywhere you look, up and down the field. End of lap 9. Davidson leads from Patterson. House holding in 3rd place. Gibson really working hard at the moment to hold off all of his teammates there for 4th place.
It absolutely is. Changes then still going on in towards Willows. That's a textbook move. Drivers then defend into turn number 1. They then lose pace when they exit out of the turn. Can't get the run into Willows and then get overtaken like you just saw. Further up the field though, for your 1 and 2, there was a change for the race lead. Davidson now leads for Fusion. The gap is nothing between your front 2, but I'm seeing within this stage of the season there, Andrew, I think Davidson has really now settled into this class. Was a champion last year in your restricted class. Maybe took him a bit of a while to find his feet, but as we've headed into this part of the championship, he looks strong. He looks like the Alfie that we saw last year in the restricted category.
Oh, we had a little bit of a chat about this yesterday during the build-up show, that what I'm seeing from Alfie Davidson so far is very similar to what we saw from Austin Gibson 12 months prior. Gibson moving up as the 2023 restricted champion, and it did take him, in terms of the speed was there, but it was the racer's look. It's the being able to read the different situations in a larger field. Don't worry too much about the 181. That's good driving from Jack Harney, just to move out of the way of the race leaders. Harney had that problem earlier on in the race, of course. That is not for position. But I totally agree with you, Nicole. I think this could be a big weekend for Alfie Davidson to start to really put together a run of form that could give him a strong finish to the season. Austin Newstead looking for a strong finish to 2025 as well, looking to turn that number 4 plate into a number 1 plate at the end of the season. On board once again with Austin Gibson, 3rd in the championship at the moment for Austin Gibson. But right now, I think these two, Nicole, they've got to play the team game to an extent. There's some good points to be had here.
Absolutely is. And the problem is when you get yourself into this situation with the teammates, you know, there's so many of them. We saw it at GYG. They ended up crashing into each other. We don't want to see that again from him this weekend at Kimbolton. Into the final corner they go. This is the battle between Newstead Gibson and Harry Williams, who has now got himself up by 7 places. Big places gained also by Daniel Ferguson. You see Daniel Ferguson in the BMR branded kart then on the back of that train. Was previously teammates with these drivers, as now Newstead has been pushed right out wide through Willows and drops, I think, 3, maybe even 4 positions now. We'll see where he tumbles down to on the board. So it was a 4-place loss then. That's how quick it can happen around this circuit.
Yeah, and that'll have been exasperated a bit by the defensive work earlier on in this race. There's 2 of the OMS machines, Chester Fawkes, Oscar Kenny, both racing for that team, and Henry Clark, of course, as well this weekend. And there's going to be some big things coming from the OMS ranks in the coming weeks and months. I should just note as well, had a chat with Danny Curl yesterday. Those wondering how Knight Measures is doing. He's on the mend, not racing here this weekend after his crash at Kart Masters last week. But we do wish Knight the best and hope to see him back out on circuit as soon as possible. Changes here for 4th place. Williams has gone through. Ferguson has gone with him. I was very impressed by Daniel Ferguson yesterday. Looked quick in the free practice sessions to me, and is delivering again on the promise that we've seen from this young driver over 2025. Here's an onboard view as Williams and Ferguson get very close together on the run towards Kestrel Corner. Through will go Ferguson. There's a little bit of tyre rubbing as well in the sequence of that play. They kept it on the road just about, and they held position as well ahead of Gibson there. So Ferguson now up to P4, Gibson P5, side by side as well between the 142 of George Clark and the GP plate of Christian Kobe. Final lap board has been shown. Luca Narroway on the Bluebird machine is moving up through the order. I do hope we stay with that livery and we see it for more racing across the course of this season. Meanwhile, back at the front, Alfie Davidson, Colby Patterson been working together very nicely indeed. Know that there's good points on offer here. Out of the final corner, and unless there's something very strange, it's going to be a win, and indeed it will be for Alfie Davidson. Takes Heat 1 in Water Swift. Colby Patterson, P2. Good stuff from the driver, second in the championship points ahead of this weekend. George House takes 3rd place. Daniel Ferguson is then first of the big main pack that runs all the way down pretty much to around 22nd, 23rd place. So Ferguson from Gibson, Williams, Newstead, Clark, Narroway and Hibbert all in the top 10. All the usual players at the front of the field, Nicole.
Mature race then from Davidson and Patterson. Kept each other honest throughout the entire thing, but let the other drivers within the field back into each other, hold each other up, and then get scrapping. So it was Davidson from Patterson. George House then on a 6th place gained to round out your top 3. Then we had Daniel Ferguson as your biggest hitter. Well held by Daniel Ferguson with that moment with Harry Williams on the penultimate lap. He's up by a 13 place gain to be in P4. Then it's Austin Gibson that rounds out your top 5. We've then got Williams, Newstead, Clark, Narroway and Hibbert as your remaining top 10. And then Chester Falk, Joseph Davies, Christian Kobe, Mandris Kavekskis and Oscar Kenny are your top 15. But good stuff then by Alfie Davidson. Like we said, expect some good things for this weekend from him. I think maybe, not to throw the commentator's curse out there, this could be a good one for him, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen strong performances from Davidson previously in the season, of course. You know, that great win at GYG earlier on in the year, but looking for that consistency in those results in the latter part of this season, and that's a good start to get the run-in underway. More from Water Swift later on in the day, of course. Their second heat will be at 3:30. But before we move on, let's have another look at some of the highlights from that first heat of the weekend. Back to the race start. Now, what happens here to Austin Newstead? Well, it's in the early corners that Austin Newstead fell down to around 13th place. Some good attacking early on from Ozzie Gibson up to P2. And I say as well for Alfie Davidson, he had to work for that result, Nicole. It wasn't one of those starting from the front row of the grid, get an early lead and race off into the sunset, as they say. He had to get his overtaking shoes on. Yeah, he had to bide his time with that one, but the patience was key. We had big moments then between the Fusion teammates, which, like we saw at GYG, this could be a bit of a story of the weekend because Hibbert was looking aggressive. He was one of the drivers that was put under investigation for one of the moments. Could have been for that moment towards Willows between him and teammate of Gibson. Consistent overtakes into Willows then. That is a hot spot, as is turn number 1, like you can see on your screen. That was Newstead getting involved with Gibson. Then we had this big moment between Harry Williams and Alfie Davidson. Questionable then of the decision maybe by Williams, but well held by Ferguson to keep it on the road, keep circulating around and keep ahead of the remainder of the pack. That moment did not demote him down the order, which, you know, that very easily could have. Fierce racing as ever in IAME Water Swift. Let's head down for a pit report from Piers Pryor.
Wow, what a first race we had there. That was a treat. Not so interesting for you two out the front. Alfie Davidson, our Heat 1 winner. Alfie, well-controlled race, I think.
Yeah, well-controlled race. Me and CJ just pushed away, and then Just really, just a great race, really.
Well, I said to you just off camera a moment ago, pretty boring for the lead. However, third downwards was pretty chaotic. You better watch that one back.
Yeah, hopefully they all got going at the end. Yeah, I'm going to watch it back when I get to the tent.
Yeah, exactly. And the pace has been good this weekend so far, clearly.
Yeah, clearly the pace has been good. To start P7, sorry, and win is good.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see how you get on in the next heats. A winner in the first heat, Alfie Davidson, Water Swift Restricted, up next. But before then, we've got a word from our sponsor, Wera Tools.
Welcome back to Kimbolton, Event 7 of the Wera Tools British Kart Championships. I am joined by a good friend. I don't think we've done this for quite a few years, Mr. Chris McCarthy. Welcome to the Crow's Nest. Welcome back to Kimbolton.
It's good to be back. I never actually got to commentate at Kimbolton, so
it's a good view, isn't it?
It's a very good view. As I lift that up, yes, you can see just about everything from here. So perfect for commentating on. Yeah, the racing has been super competitive already. I know we've just had one there, but that was great to watch. And I have to say, watching from downstairs, we've been getting behind the scenes of how it's all put together with Alpha Live. It was, it was really cool to see that. So, yeah, really enjoying it already.
I think we can head down to Piers once again before the start of this race. Piers, over to you.
Yeah, going to be on the grid now. First grid walk of the weekend is Water Swift Restricted. Pole position. Well, I mean, the driver we've seen a lot at the front this year, LBJ Stubbs, been very, very fast in practice, especially yesterday. Didn't quite have it in FP6 and non-qualifying practice, but when it came to qualifying, he was the man to be, nearly a half a tenth clear of the rest of the field. LBJ, good start to the weekend, pole position.
Yeah, it was a good quali. We didn't have the best track position, but we still managed to pole it.
It seemed like that this morning you didn't have the pace that you had yesterday. Was there any changes that you made ahead of qualifying?
We changed the kart because it was really sticky, and now it feels much better.
Well, Albie, we'll see you go from pole position. We'll let you get the final words of advice. We're only 30 seconds away from the first Water Swift Restricted race of this weekend.
Thank you very much, Piers. Getting ready, as we say, for IAME Water Swift Restricted. Good to hear from some of the drivers down there. Many new names for yourself, Chris, because these, of course, are cadet drivers, our youngest drivers here this weekend. Yeah,
it is. I mean, it's been a while since I obviously commentated British Kart Championships, but one thing with doing what I do now with Piers and in Formula 3, Formula 2, you can see how quickly the drivers accelerate through. Arvid Lindblad's been a great example with that. Wasn't long ago that he was being coached by Ollie Rowland in this paddock, and in about 2.5 years he accelerated his way through. So if you're new to the British Kart Championships, you're watching drivers who are going to be on the road to F1, the road to the 24-hour Le Mans, the road to IndyCar possibly, or even British Touring Car Championship very, very shortly.
Absolutely. So I think we can take you through the grid for this one. Should be all 14 drivers on the grid for our first heat in IAME Water Swift Restricted, and it's the familiar sight of LBJ Stubbs on pole position, championship leader, of course. Benjamin Schlivar, the youngest driver in the field, is alongside on the front row. Arthur Bowers has been very quick so far this weekend, starts on row 2 alongside Bodie Batch. Row 3, Jaden McElhenney, third in the standings at the moment, is alongside Logan Hodgetts. Ollie West and Corey Lyons go from row number 4. Toby Biggs and Frank Morris start on row 5. Freddie Baker and Louis Williams-Mabs on row 7. Harry Murphy and Patrick Wood form out the 7th row. Very good to see Patrick Wood on the grid. Had a flip this morning. Kart has been repaired, re-scrutineered. Patrick is clear and good to race. Here we go then. 10 minutes plus 1 lap down towards the first corner. It's the SFR machine in the green and white of Benjamin Schlivar trying to look round the outside of LBJ Stubbs. Bit of a discussion at the back of the field, including the likes of Harry Murphy. The solid start there, Chris, from your championship leader, LBJ Stubbs. Has been in very, very good form this weekend. O-Plate winner earlier in the year at Wilton Mill.
Yep, you could see it straight away at Kimbolton, the goal to get over to the inside line with that 90 right down to the first corner. Most of the drivers able to do so. Challenge on for third place straight away there. That's the number 78 as they're trying to get on the attack early doors here. But out front, it has been a good start for Stubbs. That's Schlivar trying to recover a position. Made it into the first corner, but actually trying to work together now with the number 99 in second to recover a bit of a loss to Stubbs in the lead.
Indeed. So Stubbs leads by half a second ahead of Bowers, Schlivar, Batch, McElhenney, West, Lyons, Hodgett. Great start for Patrick Wood. How about that for the youngster in the number 36? As I say, had an incident this morning that wasn't his fault. It's one of those. It's motorsport. It happens. But great repairs put in to get the kart ready and re-scrutineered. Patrick, as I say, has been assessed and is all good on the medical front and has gained 5 places. He's had no practice, has had no warm-up, didn't get to take part in timed qualifying earlier on this morning, has got straight back in there and overtaken 5 drivers. That's an impressive run. It
is. Making progress very quickly is the number 74 driver. And there we pick up the number 74 driver, 2 just ahead in West and Lyons now, heading down to the chicane. But the field becoming congested out front. Schlivar doing a good job to close up, working with the driver Bowers just ahead. And then Batch likewise getting some assistance behind. So it could be 5 for the lead very shortly. 1.1 seconds make that 1 second exactly between the top 5 as they turn their way into the final corner now.
Yeah, Logan Hodgett's looking for perhaps the best result of the season so far. Once we get to tomorrow's championship points awarding stages, has had a couple of flurries up into the top 10. Can he break the top 8 this weekend? Well, based on this performance so far, that is a definite possibility. Arthur Bowers, currently the fastest driver out on circuit, 47.22. Second time this season that we've seen Arthur race in the championship. Made his start of the season at PF International. Meanwhile, on your screens, West and Hodgett's. Ollie West has had a good season so far, running at the moment in 7th place, just off the back of this group. With Corey Lyons, one of the Daily Motorsport drivers, ahead in the Lando Norris helmet.
Yeah, Hodgett's just facing a decision there whether to go on the attack or work with West. It seems the decision is taken to go with Ollie West for the time being, because that battle for the lead is going to start very shortly. Gap between first to second, half a second, and the fastest lap, Andrew, just done by the driver in 3rd place, Schlivar. So the gap is coming down, but I've got to say, Stubbs up front is doing a good job punching his own hole in the air, and is doing a good job to do just that.
And explain to us, Chris, because I think you've got a little bit of racing experience round here. Slipstream at Kimbolton, it's a big one, isn't it?
Yes, it looks like when they come out for qualifying that they're getting ready for a rolling start, and they're not actually doing that. They're looking for a tow, they're looking to work with each other. There go the hand signals from the 99 Bowers and Schlivar, just looking for the assistance behind because it is key, but no, says the 88 of Batch. He's going to go through into 3rd place. So he's had enough of doing the following, now wants to be the one getting pushed along. But that's okay. And their contacts into turn 1. And there we go. That's going to allow the number 77 through. So drivers trying to work together, but it does become a pinch point down into that first hairpin.
It's a long, long run down to Stowe Corner. Jaden McElhenney has had podiums so far this season. But it's always been the Saturdays that have been his strong days. I wonder how that's going to potentially change things over what is a single header round here this weekend. All the championship points for event 7 will be awarded tomorrow. Just under 5.5 minutes to go. Here down the inside goes Bodie Batch into 2nd place. Good move from the Argenti Motorsports backed driver, one of those drivers in each of the IAME categories, of course. And Bodie Batch, who's had race wins, took a round win earlier on in the season at GYG, has actually had a run of being in the top 3 of championship points awarding stages all the way back to the start of the season and round 2 at Warden Law. Has only once been outside of the top 3 so far this season. That's a very impressive run.
I've got to say, 46.8 for Bodie Batch last time in comparison to a 47 flat for the leader. Going slightly wide was the 99 of Bowers, and he's going to lose a place or 2 as a result. But this could start to change the complexion of this race. Dirty tyres is that for Bowers, now losing places to Lyons, who was also doing 46.8. But this could start to see the gap come down out front, because that is very good times for Bodie Batch. It will be interesting to see if those times can be replicated now in second place.
Yeah, absolutely, and see if he can start to challenge his teammates. Has been a regular side so far in 2025 in this category. Stubbs and Batch at the front of the field, through Derek's corner and towards Dan Weldon corner, named after the late great driver who raced many times here. Less than 4 minutes on the clock to go. Bit of a lonely race at the moment for LBJ Stubbs as this trio start to work together. Batch, McElhenney, Schlivar. Benjamin Schlivar hasn't had a top 3 ranking in a championship points awarding stage so far this year. These two drivers have. McElhenney very close there with Batch, and that's going to allow Schlivar to slip down the inside, retake 3rd place. This is a good run from Schlivar. I know you were a little bit of a go back in history. You were at Le Mans, I was at GYG. Schlivar missed out on his first podium on a photo finish.
Wow.
That's his best result so far this year, but the youngest driver in the field doing very, very well indeed. And this could well be the weekend, a long way to go, of course, where he does break onto the podium.
Yeah, gap extended out front as well, 1.2, but only heats, of course, as well, isn't it?
Yeah, just today, 2 heats today.
Want to get some points on the board, stay out of trouble, and that will be the key for these drivers in this race. But I think what Stubbs is doing, making no mistakes, has to be very impressive. He's doing really good laps and is just got his head down and build up a really good gap here.
Yeah, I think the scary thing for the field here in IAME Water Swift Restricted is LBJ Stubbs seems to be getting quicker and quicker with every single weekend. He's been very strong so far this year in the IAME categories. He's been doing double duty as well in the other engine formulas. Had a very good run last week in Kart Masters, where he looked to have made a bit of a breakthrough in those other categories. And that form seems to have been carried back into IAME Water Swift Restricted to be having this 1 second lead. A little bit of info. Piers Pryor down in the pits. What have you got for us?
Just been watching Stubbs through the first sector just to see if I can understand why he's got such good pace so far this weekend. He just looks like he's so in control. Every other driver seems to be fighting the steering through the middle and exit of turn 1 at Stowe and then through the Willows. He seems to have everything dialed in, which says to me that, you know, we mentioned on the interview on the pre-grid that he took some grip off the car. It's clearly flowing nicely, clearly feeling good underneath him. It's a high grip surface here at Kimbolton, and getting the grip level right is very important, and clearly the XL Motorsport team and Stubbs got the hang of that so far, but looking forward to seeing if Batch and Schlivar can work together to get to the back of Stubbs.
Indeed, thank you, Piers. Well, at the moment, they're fighting over second place. Schlivar has just taken second place away from Bodie Batch. Warning flag is out for number 77 of Jaden McElhenney. Chris, I want to take you back to your driver's days. You know, drivers sometimes talk about having too much grip in karting. What do we mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, I remember going around this circuit, and that is a constant thing. You just want the kart flowing through the corners, particularly around this section of the circuit. You don't, particularly when you get into the senior categories, you don't want them bouncing through the corners. You want it to just flow through the corners as quickly as possible, and into this one as well. So, you know, mid-corner speed is a big thing around here as well, because of how quick the circuit is. So it was always a constant thing around here, and yeah, it's a good spot by Piers, because this first sector is absolutely key as we see a change for second place.
Yeah, another one. So Batch back up to the number 2 spot. Louis Williams Mabs, I think, has had a problem out there. The number 22 has slipped to the back of the field. If you can catch an eye of that one, Chris, you will love the livery on it, because Louis and his dad Ricky, running his privateers, have got the old school maroon and yellow DAP livery on it. It looks absolutely fantastic out there on circuit. Time is up though. Final lap board is going to be out in a moment for LBJ Stubbs, your race leader, but we're going to stay, I think, with this fight for second place because it's been very, very enjoyable for us here in the box over the last few laps. Batch defends to the inside, moves back to the middle of the circuit before corner entry. That holds Schlivar off, and well, Jaden McElhenney might get a bit of help here from his Daily Motorsport teammate Corey Lyons. The two Irish drivers have been working together very, very well at times through in this 2025 season. No moves at this moment. LBJ Stubbs has just got to bring this one home. Batch not giving any opportunities at the moment to Benjamin Schlivar. Just looks a little bit too far back.
Yeah, it's been a superb drive from Stubbs, who has dealt with any pressure perfectly. Corey Lyons has brought himself into this fight with the fastest lap last time round, but out front, Andrew, it looks like it will be LBJ Stubbs who takes the win in this first heat for the Water Swift category, the rookie category, and that's a superb drive, I have to say. Controlled the race out front very well. Bodie Batch, in what was a very intense fight, did well in the end to hold off Schlivar behind. McElhenney fourth, Corey Lyons. So that was I think he'll take a lot of positives from that result. Fastest lap in the end in game 3, and then we had Hodgetts, Patrick Wood gained 5 places. So shout out to Patrick Wood.
Yeah, absolutely. The Daily Motorsport team highlighted there 2 drivers in the top 5. They will be happy with that. Drivers will, of course, head into post-race scrutineering, go over the weighbridge, check that everything is A-OK on that front. We will see Water Swift out again for their second heat at 3:50 later on today. Chris, whilst we've got you as well, another session, we've mentioned it already for Purple Sectors. How did the whole Purple Sectors initiative get going?
It was really just an initiative I came up with. Epilepsy for me was something I used to keep secret and hide from, and then when I eventually found the courage to start telling people about it and went to a Frecker race, which I've covered for a while now, with a T-shirt that, you could clearly see that I was showing that I had epilepsy, and the support I got that weekend just led me to kind of say I should really do something about this, because there's people that do hide from the fact that they have it. I had a lot of people reach out to me after that weekend, so I went to the Young Epilepsy charity to set up this event, because if you do suffer with epilepsy, yes, you can't race on a circuit like we see these kids doing at a fantastic level, but we can do it in sim racing. So we put together a sim race, and we've kind of elevated it from there, really. And
plenty of young people from the Young Epilepsy Society here today as well, aren't they?
Yeah, we've brought some people from the Youth Voice Network here, and thanks to yourself, Nicole, Piers, James and Alpha, and all the circuit staff here, we've been showing them behind the scenes. They're really keen to work in the sport in different areas, and the staff here have been great at allowing us behind the scenes to show us a real view of how it all works. So one thing we really want to do is give people the chance to race on an equal level through sim racing, which we did last year, having guests like Isaac Hadjar. But 2, then introduce people into how can you work in the sport, and we want to open that up to more than just people from the Young Epilepsy charity.
For anyone watching at home who wants to get involved, how do they get involved?
We're going to be doing an event later in the year. You can find us on socials at Second Purple Sectors. We'll be doing an event later in the year. This is one of many initiatives now that we've done. We went to Silverstone early in the year. We're going to do this, where we are doing a free media training session. Come along at 5:30 and get some tips from myself and Neil Cole, who's going to be running the session. And there will be more things like this going forward, really. So just keep an eye on our socials for that.
And what I'll say to wrap up, folks, my career, my time in this box would not have started without this man to my right. He genuinely, from the heart, has a lot of time for anybody out there. There is your provisional result for Miami Water Swift Restricted. Stubbs, Batch, Schlivar, your 1, 2, 3. McElhenney and Lyons start well with top 5s. West, Bowers, Hodgetts, Wood and Biggs. I know I've said it before, that's a really good drive from Patrick Wood. I was worried we weren't going to see that number 36 kart today. So to get it up into the top 10 is a properly good effort. Freddie Baker, Frank Morris, Harry Murphy and Louis Williams. Mabs will look towards the second heat No worries, of course, about any kind of cut-offs and repecharges for IAME Water Swift Restricted. They will all race twice in the heats and the superheat and the final tomorrow. Let's head down the tow once again over to Bodie Batch and Piers Pryor.
Bodie, second place. I know maybe not the start of the weekend you wanted, but still a good result.
I mean, it was hard to get because Ben was quick and Jaden was quick, but we came out on top on the end of the pack.
You had to fight hard for that second place. What can you do in the next race to get closer to our championship leader and your championship challenger Stubbs?
I mean, do the same again, try our best, and hopefully we'll get closer in the second heat.
Absolutely. What do you think you've got the pace if you can get some clear air to run with Stubbs at the front and take it from him?
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. And what have you been working on this weekend? It's a very different circuit to where you last race. Quite unique challenge around here, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been here twice before. Once in the dry, once in the wet, so we have experience in both conditions. So it isn't too hard, but it's still a challenge.
Yeah. What is the secret to going quickly around here?
Nothing really. It's quite a fast flowing track, so if you get track position, you'll be quick anywhere.
Well, we'll see. Bodie Batch, second place in the first heat. We'll let you go and cool off and get ready for your second race, which is coming up later on. Before we head into the next race, before then, we'll hear a word from one of our partners, Demon Tweaks.
Here at Demon Tweaks, you probably know us for our massive cartwear range. We've got everything from suits, boots, gloves and helmets from the biggest brands in the business. But we are so much more than that, because if you're looking for kart parts, well, we've got you covered too. We've got everything from Rotax parts, sprockets and chains, discs and pads, data loggers and dashers, fuel tanks, steering wheels, bead breakers and loads more. But of course, it doesn't just stop at the track, and if you're looking to build your skills in the sim, then we've got everything you're going to need to build the ultimate rig. So whether you're just getting started or you're already at the top of your game, Demon Tweaks has got you.
Welcome back, everybody, to Kimbolton. Hello to you all in the chat. Apologies we've not been able to get to you so far today, but we can see you busily chatting in there. Hello to Cross-Eyed Lion. Dirk, I hope you enjoyed Kart Masters last week. Isaac Barker, I think Isaac mentioned as well, big thanks to all of the Orange Army at PF International last week. Absolutely. They were tremendous as ever. On what at times was a very challenging weekend for them. Emerson McAndrew as well. Hello, Em. Fresh off that GP plate win last week. Keep your comments coming in. Meanwhile, we're going to head down once again to Piers Pryor.
We've got the grid walk now. Junior X30 coming up next. I'd say arguably the most competitive class this weekend. The top three drivers, Finlay Lines, Riley Cranham, and then the inside of row number 2, George Edgar, covered by 0.03 of a second. If you were 0.2 off the pace, P10. 0.4, P20. That's pretty savage in terms of consistency. The fastest driver I'd say so far, on average, has been George Edgar. George, great pace this weekend so far. Couldn't quite get it done in quali though.
No, unfortunately, just the track position. Unfortunately, I ended up towing Riley and Finlay round, so unfortunately they went 1-2. But race pace is looking really good. We've had practice in nearly every practice session, bar from one, where it was a bit unfortunate, but still looking really good into the racing.
Yep, so we'll let your mechanic get in there and do the last changes. George, congratulations on a good qualifying. I'm sure he'll be going quickly. He's actually had some electric pace in practice. A couple of tenths clear of the field in a couple of those sessions. His teammate Nat Johnson right behind him as well. And watch out for the trio of Mick Barrett Racing drivers. Ty Buckley, who was very, very quick at GUIG as well. We're going to have to quickly reverse our way out of the grid so we don't get run over by a fleet of Junior X30 drivers. Lots of drivers in this pack. Looking forward to an exciting race. Let's go racing.
Thank you very much, Piers. Right, let's turn it up a notch into Junior X30 for their first of 2 heats here today. Finlay Lines has pole position after that, a great qualifying earlier on this afternoon. Riley Cranham, championship leader, starts on the front row of the grid. George Edgar, the last time he raced here in an IAME round was 2021 in IAME Cadet. Starts on the inside of row number 2 for this one and is joined by Archie Owen. Nat Johnston and Ty Buckley starting on all Mick Barrett Racing row number 3. Aaron Richardson and Sukhmani Kira, they go from row 4.
Row number 5 includes Rocco Shenton with Isaac Sayer, and then from 6 we have Max Yule and Freddie Wood. Number 7 is Mayan Patel, your driver who had a lot of success out of PFI, as well as Harley Musk. After Musk, then we have Jacob Batchelor and Zach McDonald, and then from 9 is Archie Rogers-Tyler and Max Endicott.
Row 10, Oliver Meek, Alexander De Benedictis, John Richardson on British Champs return alongside Aaron Matter. Row 11, Jack McLaughlin, John Foley Jr. complete the grid. We are racing here at Kimbolton, down towards Stowe Corner for the first time, and look at that round the outside going there. Is that Archie Owen for the BMR team? Has made it work. Brilliant stuff from the Welshman. Big point forward from Riley Cranham. Not a good start from Finley Lyons, off the racing line now, and is going to have to be patient here to find a position to slot back into. I think he's just slotted back in behind Nat Johnston, but has lost 6 or 7 positions there, Nicole. But what a run from Archie Owen round the outside from grid 4, leads here on the first lap.
Absolutely
someone's lost a cover. I think that's Riley Cranham's chain cover. It was definitely a Fusion one that has flown off the kart there. I don't know if we can get a replay of that, but drama here
it is
in the early stages of Junior X30. Cranham surely is going to receive a mechanical flag here. It's very easy to do. Is that a changing point in the championship? It is only a heat. There's a lot of racing to go, but that's not how Riley Cranham would have wanted to start things.
Absolutely isn't, but with that technical flag that I'm sure we will be able to see, that will give Archie Owen maybe a bit more breathing room. Let's watch the replay. Yeah, it just pops off coming into the entrance of the final corner, tumbles across the track, and then we could see the marshal pick it up. So maybe anticipate that technical flag to go out for Cranham very shortly, as he has now got himself into the race lead. But Owen actually snatches it back. That move, though, at the very start by Archie Owen, what an overtake. I'm sure Harry Platten and would have been sat there, driver coach of Archie Owen, with a big grin on his face. Piers Pryor is down in the paddock with some information then, as Cranham has been given that technical flag now.
I got a first-class seat of that move around the outside. It was right down at turn 1. Owen didn't really have a choice to go to the outside. He got blocked out with nose-to-tail karts down on the inside, but broke so late, combined with a slightly early breaking of lines, potentially just a bit nervous of losing the lead to the drivers behind. But Owen, brilliant move around the outside. It has been done here at Kimbolton before. It's a move that can be done. It's quite a sharp reverse turn, but Cranham now in the pits, so disappointment on Cranham's face after the chain guards come off. Really interesting start to this race.
Absolutely is. Thank you then, Pierce. Like you said, Cranham has retired for this one, so his hopes are out. But for the time being, we have got big hopes in the likes of Sukmani Kira, who's currently sat there P6, chasing around Finley Lyons, who did start this race at the front row, but has been shuffled down the order for the time being. Out of the final corner, Owen will go ahead of Edgar and Shenton. Edgar on that fastest lap, so he's found his feet now within this race after taking a little bit of a while to settle in. But Archie still doing a good job out there in the front to hold on to things. Onboard camera is on Finley Lyons. There you can see Sukmani Kira heading out of that second sector, really trying to push hard, really trying to use all of the grip that is out there on the track. And talking of grip, maybe mentioning it in the context of that outside move by Archie Owen, because of the temperature, because of the style of the track, it is down there. You can use it and you can pull off moves like we saw in the early stages.
Absolutely. 6.5 minutes of this race to go then. Archie Owen is your race leader ahead of George Edgar. We've not talked too much so far about Rocker Lee and Shenton there. Shenton had a brilliant run in the previous round of this championship at PF International. He's having a good start to round 7 here as well. Into Derek's corner. Nat Johnston, currently the fastest driver on the circuit. It's just set a 41.28. Then it's Finley Lyons with the camera. I love that shot looking back. And it's good to see Finley Lyons has got that exhaust all properly assembled. The clips and the springs are all on. If you know, you know. 5 minutes and 45 seconds of this race to go. Investigation for Oliver Meek in the 267 as here goes George Edgar down the inside of Archie Owen to take the race lead. George Edgar has been having a very good season so far as Alexander De Benedictis is out of this race, joins Riley Cranham on the sidelines. Yes, it's just a heat, Nicole, but this is a really big opportunity now for George Edgar. He's seen his title rival out of this one. If George Edgar is to win the championship this year, he needs to have a big one. For me, he needs to probably be at least in the top 3 in both championship points awarding stages this weekend.
Yeah, he's got some big work to put in this weekend, but he's doing just that for the time being out there on the front, because he looks absolutely on rails, looks really, really strong for now. Down the inside of Patel, I think that was that Sukhmani Kira at the first corner. So Kira, maybe like Alfie Davidson, new category for her in 2025. This point in the year, looks like she's starting to find her feet now. She looks comfortable out there, strong, and is really settling into this class, is now within that top 10.
Well, I think all year, Sukhmani Kira has been looking good. I think that the key last weekend at Kart Masters, the confidence is coming through now.
Yeah.
I say this genuinely. Sukhmani Kira could have won the Grand Prix last week with how racing breaks down sometimes. You need a little bit of luck. She didn't quite have that luck last weekend, but she had the pace to be on the podium, and that will give her a big boost going forward. This is a good scrap as well, all around Freddie Wood and Jacob Bachelor. Jacob, another driver who's massively improved this year.
Absolutely was. We just saw a change there between those two. Jamie Greens actually got the legs on Freddie Wood, jump into P9. Freddie Wood rounds out your top 10 for the time being, but he looks under pressure now by Aaron Richardson. Richardson further down than what we saw from him at PFI. At PFI, the story all weekend was Richardson versus Cranham. For now, he just doesn't look quite dialed in. As down the inside, that was aggressive there by Johnstone. It looked like almost wheel-to-wheel him and Shenton were going to go, but they give each other that room, and now Johnstone just looking slightly defensive into that second sector past the Yamitsu straight. Shenton still all over the back bumper of the Mick Barrett kart. That brings Finn Lines ever closer as Johnstone runs slightly wide out of the Dan Wilden corner. Still though, in the front, Edgar continues to put in those good times. It's down the inside now. Shenton returns a favour on Johnston. Round the outside, Lines is going to go, but backs out of it. This is starting to turn into a bit of a scrap now. Andrew, as Patel looks down the inside at Willows on Lines,
lovely.
Gets it done. That was well executed, well read by your driver, who's very successful out at PF International. Last time the IAME's graced the circuit. Kira on the back of this train as well, biding her time to try and maybe take a chunk out of Finn Lines. All of these drivers then wheel to wheel. Onboard camera once more looks at the Alpine back driver on the back of this front train. Still, she goes around the outside slightly. She's going to get maybe the run down to the first corner because of that. We'll watch what she does. Goes more on the defensive line, still chasing round Lines. Will she stick it around the outside? Will she get the run into the Willows? Not just yet. Has to be patient, has to stay behind the Argenti back driver for the time being.
2 minutes to go then. Pretty steady race at the moment by Junior X30 standards, but still plenty to be decided. And looking back once again from Finlay Lines, he's had good pace in the middle phase of this race after a tricky start. Marnie Kira just behind there, her 2:44 running nicely in 7th place. If they do fight though, they could bring Tyke Buckley back into the equation, who's just ahead of Freddie Wood and Aaron Richardson, who's now back up into the top 10. Shenton, subtle defence. Mayan Patel throws it in down the inside. I've got to say, Mayan Patel has been driving brilliantly as Johnston goes off the road and has to take to the cut through there, through the Willows. That E-plate now, Mayan Patel took that at Shennington a few weeks ago, and you look from his results earlier on in the season, back to Warden Law when he was in the teens, he was in the mid-pack. Breaking through, we started to see the performance at GYG, took his first podium, then of course his first win last time out at PF International in these Wera Tools British Kart Championships. Is down the inside Lines and Kira working to dispose of Johnston there, and that will bring Tyke Buckley and Freddie Wood and Aaron Richardson back into play for 5th place. But just to come back to Mayan Patel, I'm really excited to see what he can do between now and the end of the season, surely on for a top 10 finish in the championship.
Could be possible then, Andrew. Let's focus on Lines though for the time being. On-board camera once more shows picking that more defensive line for the past couple of laps, really trying to fend off Sukhmani, sat there in P6. Lines still wants to hold on to this P5. He's more than aware that Patel and Shenton ahead of him have absolutely pulled away now as they now trade places through the final corner. Patel now getting himself ahead of Shenton. That is a big change there for P2. Shenton, though, looks hungry around the outside. Looks like he's going to get the run to the entrance of Willow. Side by side on the entrance. Has to back out of it, though. And Patel still holding on to this one. Looks over his shoulder as they head through and towards the second sector. The E-plate still looking strong. All that has done for P3 is allowed Edgar and Owen to pull away. Not seen those two for the past couple of minutes. Edgar still continuing to hold on to those purple laps. Busy stuff in that midfield section. I think that's Zach McDonald trying to get involved. 5-place gain for McDonald to sit just outside of the top 10 for the time being. As now the newest driver to apply pressure to Kira is Ty Buckley. Buckley and Johnstone side by side round the outside. Shenton tries to go. Is he going to get it pulled off? Not quite. That was almost a moment.
That's great racing. That is really, really good racing in my book. Shenton went for the big, bold move. Patel gave him the space. Didn't give him too much space, of course. Wanted to defend and keep hold of his position, but did it in a fair manner. This is good stuff on the final lap of X30 Junior's first heat of the weekend. George Edgar has still got the race lead here. Look, Shenton. Oh, no, that's not so good. And off goes Patel. Oh, man, Patel loses all of the hard work from this heat and will fall down the order. George Edgar has taken the race win. Archie Owen, a very strong second place. Rocco Shenton comes across the line third, ahead of Lines, Buckley, Kira, Johnston, Wood, Richardson and Isaac Sayer in the top 10. But what rotten luck there for Mehem Patel. Falls from third place, finishes 20th.
Yeah, that was a big moment then for Patel. Will tumble completely down the order after, you know, what was a good and fair race for him and Shenton for the most part, but fell to pieces in that final sector of that final lap. Hopefully we can get a replay of that moment, but questionable decision making there, I would say. So here they go out of the far corner of Dan Weldon. They head down. Shenton signals, looks around the outside. Patel maybe jumps back onto the racing line and then they tag. So actually,
yeah,
that's a hard one to call who's at fault. And
this is why the race officials will have multiple angles of that and an unlimited number of opportunities to look back through. And this feed as well, because it's really tough one to call on that front. So, well, there is your race winner, George Edgar, P1 for the Mick Barrett Racing Team. They'll be very pleased with that one, taking the win by 0.22 of a second in the end ahead of Archie Owen. Shenton third, Lines, Buckley, Kira, Johnston, Wood, Richardson and Sayer all in the top 10. Harley Must, decent race, up 3 positions to finish P11 just ahead of Jacob Bachelor. Zach McDonald as well, showing good race pace, gained 3 in that one. They all got past Max Ewell, who finished 14th. Max Endicott, a bit quiet, but a top 15 there for the BMR driver. Something to build upon from this point of the weekend. Meek, Richardson, Rogers, Tyler, Meta and Patel all in the top 20. Jack McLaughlin and John Foley Jr., the last of the finishers. 2 retirements from that race. Well, 1 retirement and 1 in response to a mechanical flag. Alexander De Benedictis and Riley Cranham. Let's have a look at some of the highlights.
So side by side we went into the first corner. For the start, it was almost a big moment between Lines and Owen. Owen held it round the outside at turn number 1 and it was a very well executed move, I would say. Just calling that from memory as we've just had a small glitch with our race replays. But that was a good race indeed. It was a big moment at the start, well executed by Owen. Of course, he lost that race lead through that kind of midpoint in the race, gave it to George Edgar, who's been very strong. And of course, other highlights included, well, it won't be a highlight for him, but included losing Riley Cranham because of that chain guard moment on the first lap towards first corner. And of course, Patel, that moment would have probably been included in our race replays where he tumbled down the order with that incident with Shenton.
The slight silver lining, I know it's rare for a Yorkshireman to look for silver linings in a situation like this, but Riley Cranham will have fresher tyres when we get to the second round of heats later on today. So we'll see if he's able to do something with that. The comments have been holding on really, really nicely so far this weekend. I've been noting that through the free practice. Look, a driver might tell me otherwise. Let's head down once again, though, to Piers Pryor. Piers, over to you.
I'm going to grab a word with Archio in second place. We spoke to George Edgar ahead of the session. He's probably been the man to beat in terms of pace this weekend, but it must feel good to stick with him the whole race.
Yeah, he was very quick. Couldn't quite stay with him in the toe and didn't really get close enough for a move near the end, so he did a very good job.
Well, you say you didn't stick with him. You did, but it was just out of reach.
It was just 1 or 2 kart links and it's just a bit too far back to make a move, so still wasn't a bad result.
Not a bad result, especially considering the pace he's had in practice this weekend so far. You must have gained something from the practice sessions earlier on this weekend or on Friday into the race today.
Yeah, learnt a lot.
Anything you can give us?
No.
Is it driving, car, bit of both?
I think it's a bit of both.
What can we do? What can we do to go one better in the next one?
I think just find the little bits. I think it's just everywhere a little bit.
A little bit everywhere. Archio in second place in the first heat. We'll let you go and cool off and get ready for the second heat of the day. Before we head to Senior X30, we're going to have a word from one of our partners.
Motorsport is naturally a fast-paced and dynamic environment. Dealing with a specialist insurance advisor helps to ensure that your specific needs are covered. We have access to a complete portfolio of products including personal accident, on-track damage, property and event liabilities and cancellation. We can help drivers, teams and manufacturers, event organisers and circuit owners and venues. Visit marshsport.co.uk/motorsport to find out more.
Senior X30 dummy grid here. We've got some familiar faces at the front of the field. Second place last year, second in the championship at the moment is Freddie Lloyd. He had been very quick in practice so far. And alongside him, last year's champion Gus Lawrence going from the outside of row number 1. Very close between the top 3. Zach Green, sorry, it was right there as well. Only a couple of hundredths off the fastest. But if you want a story, someone to watch in this race other than the front, we'll walk slightly further backwards. Number 5. Lewis Bird, he is starting down in 13th place. He's been one of the fastest drivers in practice so far this weekend for the Croc Promotion teams. I expect him to see him come through the field. He doesn't hold any punches. Senior X30 coming up next.
Well then, great to hear from Pierce on the grid. So for now, we have drafted out Andrew Mather for the Senior X30 race. And Neil Cole has joined me in the commentary box for this 10-minute plus a lap race. Senior X30s will be coming up next. Like mentioned there, Neil Cole drives me in the commentary box for this race. We'll take you through your grid then. Row number 1 will be led by Fred Lloyd with Gus Lawrence, and then from 2 we have Zach Green with Harrison Whitacombe. Row number 4, watch out for Harrison Mackie with Gabriel Stilp. Gabriel Stilp will have an onboard camera with him, so keep a close eye. Row number 4, Morgan Moore and Aaron Brown, and then Neil Cole, who is on row number 5.
We've got Tristan Powell and Reese Newburn, then CJ Bennett and William Antrobus, then Lewis Bird and Dean Peterson, with Jack Buckley and Sam Lewis in P16.
Row number 9 and the last part of your grid is Dylan Patel with Jack Nettleship. 10, Theo Lestrange with Luca Mann, and then from your penultimate row for Brazil, we have João Castro with Oliver Harris. Rounding out row number 12, it's an all-rookie row number 12 with drivers who have not joined us this year for the championship. It's Yusuf Alali with Lucian Joyce. Out of the final corner they will go. Revs raise, and we are racing. Into turn number 1, Lloyd gets the jump on Gus Lawrence, as actually looks like they will be going around again. I'll start then for our senior X30s. Gives us some time to delve into the world of Neil Cole. Neil, thanks for joining us this weekend. You're here with the Purple Sectors Initiative, but can you tell me a bit more about your commentary and your racing career?
Racing career is very minimal. I'm much more used to going sideways, dirt, gravel, so I spend a lot of time with cross karts. I'm much more used to it being okay when they go sideways or they're doing jumps, which I know is not ideal here on asphalt. So that's kind of my background, but yeah, I work across lots of different championships, Formula E, World Endurance, sports cars, and World Rallycross. You name it, I've probably worked on in the paddock.
And karting so far this weekend at Kimbolton, your thoughts have been?
It's amazing. What an incredible, it's non-stop action, beautiful track, and all of these competitors are so impressive.
Here we go then, Revs race, and into the first corner we are racing. Breaking formation, then Lloyd holds onto that tight line into turn number 1. Through Willows, the field will go, bunched up in the mid-pack, but everybody giving themselves that room for the time being. Lawrence sat there, has been shuffled down slightly, dropped 2 positions, and it looks like it's Green and Whitcomb that have promoted themselves into front of the 3-time champions. Through the back corner of Dan Weldon, all drivers go. And there we have got the 2-time IWF champion of Gabe Stilp chasing round drivers ahead with that onboard camera. Down the inside at the final corner, Lawrence goes. He has snatched that place back off of that was Harrison Whitcomb. Goes defensive into turn number 1. As now round the outside, still looked hungry, side by side with Whitcomb into Willows. Almost gets shoved out, and that brings Harrison Mackie into the fight. Busy stuff down the Imitsu straight. Morgan Moore is looking like he's involved in the fight as well. Morgan Moore, a driver who needs a strong race this weekend after being disqualified from the entire day at PFI. He's going to be fighting hard for some points. Down the inside of Whitcomb goes Mackie at the left-hander. Holds on to the position nicely. Like we said, that brings the likes of Moore into the fight furthermore. Neil, back to you then for the time being, the racing here. How does karting maybe compare to endurance racing or your world of competitive motorsport?
It's exactly the same. I mean, it's one of the things I love about it is that all of the disciplines, it gets bigger, there gets more money, there gets more, more is at stake, but the driver mentality and the attention to detail with the putting together of these karts is just the same as I see at every level. And I spoke to Freddie Lloyd earlier, and he was disappointed to not be on pole for this race, but he's immediately, within 1 lap, got himself back at the front of the field. And we were on board a little while ago with Stilp, and he's gone up from 6th to 4th, and there we are, we're on board with him now. And just the sheer hunger and passion and smarts that go into racing karts like this, it translates right across the board. It's great to see.
And the way, the circuit itself and the way the drivers are handling the grip and the tyre, is there any similarities, or is there anything that you've maybe noticed about the racing so far?
Well, I think, a lot of racing drivers that I speak to in Formula One, World Endurance, whatever, even Rallycross, they talk about that they learned to drive from the feel of the car, from the seat of their pants, they understand about grip from their days in karting. So every single second on a track like this, under these conditions, or the same when it's wet, you're learning something that goes into your muscle memory and into your data bank for when you need it in 3, 5, 10 years' time.
That was a move down the inside at turn number 1 then by Tristan Powell. So he's now in front of Aaron Powell to be inside the top 9. Pierce Pryor is down in the paddock then. Pierce, what have you got for us?
I don't know whether you caught it on the live broadcast a couple of laps ago, but when Stilp initially made his move up into, I think it was 5th place, it was a bold move around the outside of Harrison Whitcomb. We've seen those two go to battle a few times this year, but it was in the Willows, tried around the outside of turn 1, hung it all the way around the inside of the first part of the Willows, and chucked it on the inside of the left-hander. And that's actually given him a bit of a leap forward in this race, just showing how hard you need to be on circuit and how important racecraft is to a good result.
Thank you very much, Pierce. Absolutely correct. And on this circuit, it is one of those where you need to be aggressive. You really need to throw the other driver off of their tracks because it's a momentum circuit. It's short. So, you know, the likelihood of you being overtaken very quickly back is highly likely. So you find drivers being aggressive and trying to shove each other round to that outside line. And talking about the Mackie versus Whitcomb battle then, rich history between those two drivers in junior racing, as now down the inside of Stilp, Mackie goes. That's something that plays into race weekends so far this year. That move then by Mackie promotes drivers behind ever closer. Lewis Bird is now the 4th driver on the back of this train, as Whitcomb just alters his racing line slightly after the Amitso straight into Derek's corner. Still these 4 drivers going bumper to bumper. That is bringing Morgan Moore into the fight again. Down the inside at the left-hander into the final sector. Whitcomb goes. Is Bird going to look hungry into the final corner? Thinks against it for the time being, but watch him into turn 1. Looks like he's got some momentum on Stilp then. Onboard camera is there and he does it. Pulls it off. That promotes Bird up the order. That allows Morgan Moore now down the inside at Willows. 2 for the price of 1, Neil Cole.
Yeah, and very, very tasty as well. What a great time to switch to the onboard for that. And it's great insight from Piers and from you that these people have intra-personal battles. They know each other's racecraft and they learn weekend after weekend, year after year, what one person's going to do. And that kind of knowledge is just going to, help them so much in their future careers, because predicting what someone in front of you is going to do is as useful as predicting what someone behind you is going to do.
And in your time, in the other professional racing paddocks, are there any major stories between specific drivers that you can think of where there really is a relationship that gets put onto the tarmac and they really fight it out?
Well, I think, one of my favourites for many, many years, it's a very different category, but was Sebastian Loeb and Petter Solberg in the World Rally Championship. And that was great because they're massively respectful of each other off the rallies, but when they're on the stages, they just wanted to beat each other. And obviously, rallying is very different because it's just you against the clock, but really, it's you against your major rivals. You can't do it wheel to wheel like we see on circuit racing like this. And there's a lovely little move there.
Oh, Tristan Brow looking aggressive then into turn number 1 on Stilp. Doesn't manage to get it pulled off though. Maybe rolled off the brakes slightly, slid and just had to think against it. Had to back out of that one. As now, further ahead in the field, Fred Lloyd looking like he's under pressure by the fastest driver on the circuit. Zach Green is owning that purple lap and is right on the tail of the number 2. Gus Lawrence, your championship leader from 2024, not really in the fight of that one just yet. And then it is split up by your top 3 to the remainder of the field because Harrison Mackie, Whitcomb and Morgan Moore really aren't in the battle for the time being. Down the inside now at turn number 1, Tristan Powell manages to pull it off. William Antrobus now sat inside the top 10. Antrobus has had some really good moments in his rookie year of IAME racing. This year though, maybe not looking as strong as he would like. The driver for Fusion just there on your screen heading into the left-hander as Piers Pryor once more has some paddock information.
Just watching through the first sector, trying to gain an understanding of what the drivers are doing, and it visually looks like Green and Lawrence, 2nd and 3rd, are managing their tyres a little bit more. There's less sliding going on. I know from my own experience of racing Senior X30 here a few years ago that the rear tyres, especially when it's hot like this, absolutely fall off the cliff towards the end of the race weekend. So I wonder if that will come into play later on towards the final tomorrow.
Well, it's absolutely a good question. Of course, it's hot out there. There is rubber being put on the tarmac and drivers want to avoid that slide. They want to avoid chewing into the tyre, but this isn't a circuit, because of the surface, that you really struggle with that tyre. Maybe when we were at GYG, it's something that the drivers have to think about a bit more, but I've heard from drivers so far this weekend, this track, it's not too bad on eating away at rubber. Neil, again for you, your experience in racing and in other categories, tyre management, talk us.
I mean, it's essential. I mean, for the viewers at home who've never raced it, if you're taking a big curb like we just saw there, then you know that you're risking a puncture. But fundamentally, tyre management we saw it, at the Grand Prix in Hungary, can win you or lose you a race, and you're learning it at the very earliest level here. But you can feel it if you race. You can feel when your tyres are starting to degrade, and there's almost nothing you can do about it apart from managing your speed into and out of corners and braking.
Absolutely is, and you do notice, especially in conditions like these, those taller, bigger drivers have to deploy that tyre management more than
not a problem I've ever had.
A smaller driver, because their centre of gravity shifts around the kart a bit more. There's more load put on different areas, the front, the rear, and both sides. So those shorter drivers in conditions like these are benefited where they don't have to think about that tyre too much. Once again, we go on board with Gabe Stilp in the dying stages of this race. We're less than 30 seconds left to go on the timing board. Bit of a lull phase for the time being as Green continues to put in purple laps.
I mean, Freddie Lloyd is managing that gap, but Zach is, quick. He's going to try and do something, I'm sure, in the last, with final laps coming up, and you can imagine that Zach just keeps going quicker, but can Freddie manage that gap out in front?
Yeah, still owns the fastest time, but on that previous one, it was a 40.40 for both Lloyd and Zach Green.
So he's managing it, I guess.
So there's really nothing in between it. Maybe not within lunging distance just that. There you can see on the screen, they've got about a cart's length in between the two. Maybe there's a game going on here because they don't want to open that gap to Lawrence. Oh, as down the inside goes Whitcomb. I don't think Mackie was expecting that as they take each other out through Willows. Mackie goes over the front of Whitcomb, takes that side pod completely off. Nasso panel damage as well. And now it looks like Whitcomb has pulled off onto the side of Willows. That was a big moment for the drivers who we were discussing earlier on. Rich history between them both. Rich history continuing to play out here this weekend at Kimbolton.
And he's absolutely gutted, and we can see out on track, they'll have to unpick that.
Absolutely, that's a shame for Whitcomb to retire before the race has finished. As we are now rewarded that checkered flag, Freddie Lloyd is your first driver to receive that for premium karting. Started on that front row, P1 in quali, P1 in his first race of the day, ahead of Zach Green and ahead of Gus Lawrence there in P3. You can see there on the side, one of the drivers that did not finish was, of course, Harrison Whitcomb. He joins Lucian Joyce to not see that checkered. Neil Cole, could you maybe take us through fourth to P10?
Sure. So fifth is Morgan Moore. Sixth, Gabriel Stilp, who we enjoyed sitting on board with during that race. Tristan Powell in seventh. William Antrobus in eighth. Reese Newburn in ninth. And Aaron Brown makes out the top 10.
Yeah, good stuff then by our drivers within the top 10. Just under 9 seconds split up those 10 drivers. But crucially, Fred Lloyd, who you just saw on your screen pushing his kart over the weighing scales, finishes just 10th ahead of the Jamie Green racing driver. Zach Green looking strong here this weekend. He's just completed his European Championship in the OK category, jumping back into the X30 scene and starting this weekend off on a very good foot. Lawrence lost that position to finish in P3. Those three drivers then, big names in the sport. They're going to be big names this weekend. Harrison Mackie then, after that moment with Whitcomb, finishes in P13. Almost, it was big dramas for Whitcomb. Almost big dramas for Mackie as well. The remainder of your field then from P15 onwards included Sam Lewis, Theo Lestrange, Luca Mann, Dylan Patel, João Castro, Dean Pedersen, Oliver Harris and Yusuf Alali. Rounds out your finishers on his British Kart Championship debut. There on your screen then, Whitcomb looking despondent, helmet in hand, will exit the track with heavy damage to that Argenti branded chassis. That was not what you want to see from your first Senior X30 heat.
Also, it's a shame that it happened on the last lap because, you've got so close to a good result, good points, and clearly that was a very ambitious move. And when you're overtaken like that, but you've kind of outbraked yourself and someone tries to cut you on the inside, it's very hard to unpick blame. Let's see what you think at home, because let's watch it again.
Here we go then. So move is on into turn 1. Whitcomb gets it done. Then Mackie looks down the inside through Willows, side by side. Then ends up that Mackie's tyres end up on the side pod of Whitcomb. Goes over the front, pulls off the side pod, goes over the Nasso. Looks like that has been ripped off as well. And then just on that exit curb on the inside, Whitcomb pulls it over, doesn't continue.
I mean, I wonder, will they get sent to the stewards to talk that through?
Yes,
okay.
that'll be called in, Neil. But for now, let's hear what Piers Pryor has got for us in Parc Fermé with our drivers.
Down here getting some race reaction, our winner, Freddie Lloyd. Freddie, that's a good session for yourself. Pace has been good this weekend and you proved it in qualifying, then again in the race.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, got a good start. Just started to manage the gap, and at the end we got caught a bit, but didn't get past, so it's been good all weekend so far.
Very good, I would say. Interesting that you've been, it looks like from my side, I was out on circuit yesterday, pushing very hard, using a lot of the curbs over here, trying to get the most out of the kart.
Yeah, fancy line, fancy line.
Absolutely, that's through Kestrel as well. Sure, that starts off your weekend well. A couple of places ahead of Gus. Is the main focus where you're with Gus? What's your outlook?
Can't really look into it too deep, can you? Just go around, see how it goes, and then just go off that.
Absolutely. Well, Freddie, Heat 1 winner. We'll grab a word with some more of the drivers later on. They're all getting themselves cooled off as we look ahead to the first KZ session. Not qualifying a race just yet for them, but I'm looking forward to that one. That'll be in just a few moments.
Here at Demon Tweaked, you probably know us for our massive cartwear range. We've got everything from suits, boots, gloves and helmets from the biggest brands in the business. But we are so much more than that, because if you're looking for kart parts, well, we've got you covered too. We've got everything from Rotax parts, sprockets and chains, discs and pads, data loggers and dashers, fuel tanks, steering wheels, bead breakers, and loads more. But of course, it doesn't just stop at the track, and if you're looking to build your skills in the sim, then we've got everything you're going to need to build the ultimate rig. So whether you're just getting started or you're already at the top of your game, Demon Tweaks has got you.
Motorsport is naturally a fast-paced and dynamic environment. Dealing with a specialist insurance advisor helps to ensure that your specific needs are covered. We have access to a complete portfolio of products including personal accident, on-track damage, property and event liabilities and cancellation. We can help drivers, teams and manufacturers, event organisers and circuit owners and venues. Visit marshsport.co.uk/motorsport to find out more.
Welcome back, everybody, to Kimbolton. Big thanks to Neil Cole for his comms there, alongside Nicole Sutherland for the previous heat. We're out of the competitive bits of the day at the moment. KZ2 heading out for their non-qualifying practice. However, It is the final part of their season decider, and, well, things are very much on the line, aren't they, Nicole? Heading into this final round of the season, Oliver Stewart is a championship leader on 372, Ella Stevens on 364, Miles Murphy on 350. Those are your three drivers who still have a mathematical chance of winning the title. Of varying degrees, of course. For Murphy, it's pretty much win or bin in a way. But you know, it's where drop scores start to come into play as well, isn't it, Nicole? We had a little bit of a chat about that earlier in the X30 categories, but now they're actually in that point of the season where they're trying to beat what they did previously in the season. How, as a driver, do you tackle that?
Well, you know, it's going to be a nail-biting weekend, mostly for Oliver Stewart versus Ella Stevens, because they're not just fighting for the championship, they're also racing for the same team. So it's nail-biting for the team as well. They're not going to care who wins it. It just needs to be one of them. But they also are going to be more than conscious, like you said, of Miles Murphy. So as a driver, you know, I think the mentality is just go out there, maximise your performance, maximise those points. But it's also going to be a hard weekend for Ella and Ollie, not because of that championship pressure of 1 versus 1, but because of the pressure by lots of names who have joined this grid that haven't joined us so far this year. Josh Price is, you know, back in this field. Hasn't been with us for the entire season. So Josh Price is back in here. Morgan Porter is in this field. James Beercroft is in this field as well. They're all quick drivers. They're all going to maybe get in the way of not points wise, because it doesn't count, but they're going to throw something into the racing. They're going to be in the fight for maybe race weekend wins, and it's going to play into the story, I would say.
I've always termed them in karting as disruptors. Drivers that you know are rapidly quick. You know, like Morgan Porter, a former KZ2 champion, of course. Josh Price, reigning champion. Won't be reigning champion after this weekend, sadly. But you know, these are drivers who can win races on their best of days. And then you throw someone like James Glenister in there this weekend as well. James, you know, didn't practice yesterday, but has been straight on the pace here today for Rush Performance. It's not just us looking over the practice. Piers Pryor is as well. Piers, what have you got for us?
Just thought I'd interject, guys. The little observation I made after practice earlier on before lunch. I was standing on the run out of the last corner, about halfway to the start-finish line, and the different teams have different strategy, I think, in terms of gear ratios. I noticed the Jades are actually changing up slightly later than the rest of the field, and then even earlier were the Sodis. So most people are changing up right in front of me. The Jades a bit later, Sodis a bit earlier, and that's something that these drivers have to deal with, is the fact they've got 6 gears, but they can also change the overall ratio. So they're doing that both for overall lap time and also where they do those gear changes. Just an interesting thought.
Very good point there, Piers. Yeah, it's very long straight here, of course. Slightly different path for the KZ2s versus what we've seen so far today. So when we've been talking about Derek's corner for the X30s, we won't discuss it for KZ2 because it's a straight blast through past Marshall Post 4 and up to the Dan Weldon corner. But whilst it's not geographically straight, shall we say, that run out of Kimbolton corner all the way to Stowe corner for the start of a new lap, Nicole, that's another area where they're going to need to think about how to maximise their speed from point to point.
Exactly. You know, this is a 6-speed category then for these drivers. It's difficult to manage those gears. There's so much going on in KZ2 racing, where, you know, you're not just driving around and thinking about your acceleration and your braking. You're thinking about shifting up, shifting down. At certain points, you're driving one-handed. You're having to be strong when you're pushing on the outside of the wheel to hold it in these corners, to not slide around. And then you're having to shift up again, especially out of this part of the track before the Yamitsu straight, you know, out of Willows, that they're shifting up again and really having to control the slide on the LeConte tyres. It's a difficult category, but for me it's one of the most exciting, and you're going to see some big stuff from these drivers this weekend. You know, Ella Stevens and Oliver Stewart, they're sat in those Birrells, incredibly strong chassis within KZ Racing. You know, in the European scene, they're huge. They're one of the biggest scenes. They were fighting out for a European title. The Sodis are, you know, very well respected within KZ Racing as well. So expect the Sodi of Ralph Youngling to maybe be quick And, you know, throw it in even more. You've also got varied other chassis in there this weekend. It's exciting. I really like this class.
Yeah, me too. Just a quick note as well, as you've been mentioning the Sodis. We should congratulate one of our own in this championship.
Yep.
You mentioned the Sodis. The Sodis have been pretty much the package to have out in Europe, and Timo Youngling piloted his KZ2. In fact, a race has kicked off in the middle of this practice session. He heard his brother Timo mentioned, and Ralph went, well, look, I can do this. But well done, Timo, getting that first FIA podium.
Yep.
That was a really, really big deal at Mulsanne a couple of weeks ago.
Absolutely was. And maybe a bit of a paddock journalism or something for the audience to consider is, you know, Ralph, brother of Timo, can be maybe expected to be helped by the fact that his brother is out there with CPP Sport, and you know, the essentially factory Sodi kart team will be giving him that guidance of maybe how to set up the kart. So he's got a bit of insider information, I would say Ralph has, and watch how that maybe plays out for him this weekend. But like you said, Andrew, well done to Timo out in Europe.
That's practice over. So that was a non-qualifying practice, basically a qualifying simulation for the drivers. If that was TQ, Ella Stevens would start on pole position for the heats later on today. So that is a good start for Ella. Quite simply, the easiest way for her to become British champion is be top of the intermediate classification after the 2 heats tomorrow and then win the final. If she does that, by my calculations, there's nothing Oliver Stewart or Miles Murphy can do to surpass Ella's score, if that was the case. So it's Ella Stevens, who is also the lap record holder around this circuit, of course, has clearly got dialed in and was nearly a 10th quicker than Jake Weston. Jake Weston we've not mentioned so far in this little preview, Nicole. I can't remember much from when we were here last year because I'd just come back from the Olympics and I was a bit of a zombie. But if there's
were
one
you
thing,
competing?
I felt like I was competing driving back from Paris. Anyway, Jake Weston was absolutely rapid here last year. Now, he's changed machinery, of course. He's now one of those drivers on the Sodi. But to see him up there P2 in that session, that is ominous for the others. I see Jake is another bit of a disruptor here this weekend. He's not going to be part of the title picture on this occasion, but good to see the number 7 up there. Miles Murphy third. That's good news for Miles. To be up there and top more racing driver as well in that session, that bodes well in that title bid. As I say, they're just going to go all in. They're going to go all in with Miles because he's the only one who mathematically can do it, and he needs to win both championship points awarding sections of the weekend to stand any mathematical chance of winning. There may well be some eagle-eyed viewers amongst you thinking, well, hang on a minute, why aren't we talking about Charlie Turner as a championship contender? It's how the drop scores work. If Charlie was to go 65 points, because we'll also have the 20-point bonuses for drivers who've been at every single round of the season coming into play this weekend as well. Charlie can get second, but he can't quite beat with a perfect weekend the score that Stewart will get simply by turning up and running one competitive lap here this weekend. That's all Stewart needs to do to get the 20 bonus points. He needs to do more, obviously, to further score championship points and start knocking out some of his drops from previously competed rounds of the season. But because of that, Stewart will definitely finish the weekend on at least 392 championship points. The best Charlie Turner can do is 389. So yes, he's ahead of Miles Murphy at the moment in the championship. But because of how the drop scores work and we get the abacus out and all the mathematics involved, Turner can't go one better than last year and take the number 1 plate, unfortunately. But always 2026, of course.
Yeah, let's look at the other names that are quick behind Murphy then. Price, the number 1, and Porter. All 3 of those drivers then more racing drivers. Yes. So if it ends up like that in quali, we could find maybe the likes of Ollie Stewart, who's down there in P7 pace-wise for the time being, being thrown off a little bit, because are you going to see team tactics of Price and Porter trying to help out Murphy to stay further up there in the order for more racing? More racing, fighting for a championship here.
I mean, you are, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's it's part of the game, part of the rules.
Sports the sport.
Sports the sport. So, but at the same time, if there was any kind of misfortune for Miles, then its gloves are off.
Yeah.
Which, that is a tantalising prospect. I don't wish ill on Miles, of course, but, you know, if he doesn't quite have the kind of weekend that they're wanting, we're going to have a good old race at the front of the field. Ella Stevens, though, I think she could be happy with that session. That not just the fact that she's P1 in that group, but clear by a near 10th. That's a very good sign ahead of the time qualifying later on this afternoon.
Yeah, hopefully that gives Ella some confidence going into quali and the races, knowing that she is currently the one to beat, not just in the championship, but pace-wise. I think the thing for her going into racing, I think maybe that might be on her mind slightly, is those race starts. We've seen a couple of times, maybe they haven't quite gone well. She's then had to fight her way through the field again. So watch that maybe play into things, see how that goes on.
What I will say, though, before we go to an ad break about Ella, the E-plate win that she had a few weeks ago at Shenington, that was big. Yeah. That was really big. You know, some will have maybe looked at 2024. It's like, okay, credit, you got an E-plate. Can you do it again? And the answer was yes, Ella could do it again. So I think that's given her a lot of racing confidence ahead of this weekend. Right, we'll take a short break and be back with KZ2 later on this afternoon for their qualifying practice. We'll take a short ad break and be back with more racing. Heat 5 in Water Swift up next.
We've just got a few moments downtime before we have Water Swift back out again for their second heat. They're just accumulating on the grid there. We've got Chris McCarthy back with us. Chris, first of all, great to have you here at Kimbolton once again for the Wera Tools British Kart Championships. First of all, Chris, how is it to be back in the paddock that you used to race at yourself?
It's fantastic. I'm absolutely loving being back. Being in here as well brings back a lot of memories from when I used to race, and the racing's been fantastic all day.
It has been fantastic. You were, up in the commentary box earlier on. Has it got even more competitive since you were out there?
I think so, yeah. I mean, the level now is fantastic. I think one thing that has definitely progressed is the standard of the teams, isn't it? You know, the teams of themselves, some have remained the same, but you can just see the presence of them has grown massively, and we saw some great stories come out of the last couple of weekends in particular. So, yeah, certainly it's made a big step forward, and these setups wouldn't look out of place in something like an F4 or an F3 paddock. So yeah, it's I think that's one thing in karting that's stepped forward massively.
I completely agree with you, Chris, if I'm honest, and it's great to have you here providing, or giving back to a certain extent. You mentioned it briefly at the head of the show, providing some media training for the drivers that are potentially wanting to go on to, big things in motorsport in terms of, being a driver, because you have to have a media presence, but it's also life skills as well. It's not just if they want to be a driver, being able to speak in front of a camera, public speaking is an important skill to have.
Yeah, absolutely. We're opening these media sessions up to anyone, really. It's, if you want to come along and find out more about how to do this, what we're doing, then come along, and find out some tips about this. Drivers of any age we're encouraging to come along as well. So yeah, I think it's a great thing, and it not just the drivers are getting interviewed these days either. So if you're a mechanic or a team manager and you want to come along and have a look, then yeah, it's open to anyone, and we'd really encourage anyone to just come along and see what it's all about.
Yeah, of course, and these are skills that, of course, as I mentioned, are useful if you want to be a driver. And a lot of the drivers that you're watching on this very live broadcast will be the future of motorsport. We'll see some of these drivers in Formula Regional, Formula 4, Formula 3, Formula 2, who knows, Formula 1, almost certainly. We've had drivers in this paddock progress to Formula 1 in the past. But it's also, well, I mean, we're shining examples. We both used to race in paddocks like this, so we've both raced here. We've now got careers in motorsport, not driving, but we've gained those skills from being around the paddock and now able to use that in our own careers. And there are many, many people in this paddock that have gained skills as a driver when they're younger that then they've been able to use in their future careers. And they might do racing as a hobby, or they might not even race anymore. But it's all about building your experience as a person as well.
Yeah, I think there's so many success stories in this paddock alone, from people who have gone on to be fantastic drivers, be fantastic team principals, whatever level that is, running the events that we have now, and then broadcasting the events that we have now. So these drivers will no doubt go on to do that at some stage if they want to stay invested in this sport. And it's all the lessons you pick up on the track and off the track that help you do that ultimately. So yeah, I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have all of those lessons and the people around me in the paddock. And some of those people are the same, and it's great to see them now doing the different roles that they are.
Well, likewise, same with myself. And I know we're both very grateful to have been involved in karting and motorsport in general, because we love it and we want to be able to provide entertainment to you at home, but also, we've made a career for ourselves. But what sort of things can we expect? And, a bit of plug, a reminder of people, if they do come along later, when it is, what they can expect and what they'll gain from it.
Yeah, Neil Cole was leading the session. He's got 20 plus years experience. We'd have seen him hosting the FIA Awards. And we're really going to strip it back to the basics, I guess, of how to be confident in front of camera like we're doing now.
Because that's much of it, isn't it? It's confidence.
Yeah, exactly. And, when you put a microphone in someone after they've had a bad race, how do you react to that? And how should you do it in front of a good race? Because those things, sometimes you don't really know the answers to those questions unless someone goes and tells you. So, yeah, that's the basic things that we're going to strip back, because there are ways that you can do an interview that will help your presence as a driver, that will help you ultimately take that to then go and get some sponsorship. So that's the things we're going to be doing. It's not going to be a very long session, so if you need to get off in a rush, you can just come for 15 minutes, and that's really all it's going to last. So, yeah, come along and have a look, and it should give you some confidence. And next time Piers Price sticks a microphone in front of you, you can remember through very basic things that we'll teach you, okay, just remember these things, and now I can go and do this interview with a bit more confidence.
Chris, we look forward to seeing you there. Hopefully we'll see some of the drivers who are watching this at the media session, and of course, there's a lot of resources online. I'll let you go, Chris, because you're actually going to go and commentate on this next race, and I'm going to wander in and seamlessly transition from an interview into the grid walk of the next race, which is Water Swift. We saw an excellent start to the event earlier on, and I've just made it in before the gate closed there, so I won't get a penalty in the next race. That's good. Yeah, so Water Swift, earlier on, we saw a brilliant battle. I think it was at second, third, fourth place down. Our two drivers at the front of the field ran away with it, and I'll run you through from the front when we get there. I've got a lot of drivers in this class this weekend. Looking forward to seeing how the Water Swift category goes on. Probably one of the most competitive on the grid. A reminder, Water Swift is for drivers roughly age 10 to roughly age 13. They run on a slightly smaller chassis, but with slightly more power than the Water Swift Restricted. Still the same or very similar IAME block engine that we see in the Junior and Senior X30. So a good way to get involved in two-stroke racing. Very, very close. A lot of slipstreaming action, a lot of high caliber racing. I noticed earlier on, actually, the inside of the grid did very well off the line. So we saw Austin Gibson, who's the number 5 there, starting in 5th place. He got into the top 3 at the start. Drivers starting on the outside, often a difficult start here at Kimbolton with that sharp right-hander, followed by a double right-hander coming up next into the Willows. Funnels down in the Willows there, so drivers will be looking to place their karts well. I'm going to grab a quick word with the driver on the outside of row number 1 here. It is Austin Newton. Austin, game plan for this race?
Hopefully I can just get away. Hopefully I can get top 2, as in the race before. It didn't go my way, so yeah.
You showed good resilience in that last one. Dropped down at the start but came back in the end.
Yeah, it was obviously a bad start, but I managed to get back through.
Austin, you said going from second place, 30 seconds to go, which means that I'm going to hand over to Andrew and Nicole as we're going to go racing for the second round of heats.
So, heat number 2 for IAME Water Swift is our next race. This is a big one because, of course, this will then set the grid for with the result from heat number 1 for tomorrow's super heat. It's the same grid, of course, and timed qualifying earlier on this morning and early afternoon. So Colby Patterson and Austin Newstead on row 1, George Clark and Mason Hibbert on row 2, Ozzie Gibson and Christian Kobe on row 3, Alfie Davidson and Charlie Clough on row number 4. George House and Henry Clark go from 5, Luca Narroway and Joseph Davis from 6. Harry Williams and Margaret Kovetskis go from row number 7. Kovetskis, of course, on the new Apollo chassis. Ethan Owen and Chester Fawkes, they go from row number 8. It's then Daniel Ferguson and Johnson Stewart on row 9. Ilyas Sami and Ryan Meta go from row 10. That's your top 20. Oscar Kenny, Ruben Sagu, Andy Stewart, Ethan Robertson, Ada O'Brien, Danny Dempsey, Sophie Campbell and Jack Harney complete the 28 runners in this one. We are not quite going yet. That was a little bit of an early acceleration for the liking of our race director Nigel Edwards, who sends them round again. Chris McCarthy, our young drivers aged between 10 to 13, a little bit keen on the gas pedal there.
Yeah, it gives me a time to catch my breath back.
It does.
I'm getting back up here into the commentary box. It's getting hotter out there. I have to say that the temperatures are getting up. Good to be down there with Piers Pryor. Big grid of Water Swift drivers who put on a great show for us last weekend. Very competitive racing. No doubt this is going to be the same. Heat 2, and they are just getting themselves now in formation, ready to go, Andrew.
So, 10 minutes and 1 lap. Quick run down the order in the intermediate classification if you weren't with us earlier. So this was effectively the result for Heat 1. Davidson from Patterson, House, Ferguson, Gibson, your top 5. What are we going to see now in Water Swift? We are green, we are racing down towards turn 1. Can Colby Patterson keep the race lead? Oh, it's a little bit scrappy. Mason Hibbert finds himself on the outside, has to take to the curb on the exit of Stowe Corner. Out towards Derricks for the first time. It's still the Excel Motorsport machine of Colby Patterson in the lead of this race. We're on board with Mason Hibbert, so he's got work to do now. I think that's Oscar Kenny directly ahead of us in the 148 OMS machine. In fact, Oscar Kenny's either had a really, really good start or Hibbert's gone further backwards. Meanwhile, change for the race lead. And once again, George Clark has been having a great season, had that breakthrough performance at Glannygores in North Wales earlier on in the season, has gone on from strength to strength to strength. Chris, so far this season, now leads this race.
Yeah, that was a great move by George Clark into the penultimate corner and showing his intent early on there. A look behind down the straight. He's not defending. He wants to work with some of his teammates here to get away, but that's going to be an attack straight back from the 1-2-4 of Colby Patterson. So we could have a good head-to-head in this race. We're only on lap 2, but that is 2 changes for the lead straight away, Andrew.
Really good stuff once again from our Water Swifts. Alfie Davidson looking to get further forward. Mason Hibbert now pointing forward. That's Daniel Ferguson for 14th place. Newstead goes down the inside, takes the race lead, and here we go. It's a repeat of what we had 6 days ago at Kart Masters. Newstead versus Kobe. These were the top 2 who went wheel to wheel and a little bit more, of course, for that GP plate that went to the Irishman in the end. This is still just a heat at the moment. Will bring us up to the halfway point of this race meeting. George Clark still there in 3rd. 4th for Gibson, 5th for Davidson. So look at this for Fusion Motorsport. A top 5 lockout at the moment for them, but don't count out the 2 Excels there. Colby Patterson now 6th and George House in 7th.
Yeah, Newstead up into the lead and might help with that assistance from Kobe behind. Change for P3, Austin Gibson. Down the inside to take 3rd place. Great on-board shot we could see in the background as well from Hibbert. Just a stream of karts as we jump on board now. Live on board change. Thank you very much. There goes an attack down the inside and we saw it live. Great pictures coming from the Alpha Live team, and that will be a change, I believe, for 12th place down the inside of Henry Clark. So is very close out front. Austin Newstead still leads for the time being, but 5 it is for the lead at this stage.
Looking a little bit further down the order, trying to keep a on track of all of the different stories in this race. Sophie Campbell's had a really good start. She's up 7 places and into the top 20. Ethan Robinson, another runner for the Daily Motorsport team, up 3 spots to 21st. And Danny Dempsey, also moving through from the back of the field, is now P22. Warning flag out for Oscar Kenny. Just a warning flag at this stage, nothing more than that. Here's a move. Harry Williams looking down the inside. His teammate Mason Hibbert doing likewise, that time on Oscar Kenny for P12. Daniel Ferguson also on the move, is up to P10. Lewis Mackey on the spanners for him this weekend. Has been doing some good work there in the BMR team. And the rest of the field moving through the order. Bit of a split towards the front. George Clark, has he got the pace to rejoin the front pack? He's got Harry Williams just behind him. Williams, the O-plate holder, will go down the inside. That's more like it from Harry Williams. His confidence coming back, Chris.
Yeah, George Clark, once leading this race, remember, now has a decision to make. But meanwhile, out front, that's going to be another change of lead. The GP plate going through to the front, started on the outside of row 3, and now Christian Kobe is the one taking control of this race, but only for a few corners. Back down the inside, there goes Austin Gibson, now up to the lead, so benefited massively from that change of lead, and now it's Austin Gibson leading us as we come out of Dan Weldon.
Yeah, well, Gibson, who took both of the final victories at PF, of course, has got accustomed to being at the front of races, particularly in the Wera Tools British Kart Championships. What a great sight that is for the Fusion Motorsport team. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the road. Colby Patterson looking to break up that party. He's just sat there in 5th place. Further back, Ferguson is through and up to 8th place and is now having a go at Williams. George Clark has gone through side by side between Ferguson and Williams. 1 go, 2 goes. That's getting a little bit close. George House trying to get involved as well. Lucan Narroway in the Bluebird there. The 117 flying along and into the top 10. Oscar Kenny, by the way, has got through past Chester Forks. And Margaret Kvetsky is having another good day. You see the 152 there. Brand new Apollo chassis. Hello to everyone watching up at Teesside Karting this weekend. It's down the inside. Hibbert there on House. They both lost out in that exchange. Back on board there with Mason Hibbert. Good to see Kvetsky now on the outskirts of the top 10. Jess Alexander on the spanners for Margaret this weekend.
Yeah, it's had a busy race, hasn't he? Mason Hibbert so far remains in 12th place after all of that somehow. Fastest lap for Oscar Kenny. 8 places gained. Daniel Ferguson up 10 places. Going along very well. You can see in the background there are 2 karts just trying to catch, and Daniel Ferguson is one of those. That would be some effort, Andrew. There he is, the 115, head down. If he can catch onto the back of George Clark, we may see an assault from those 2 later in the race.
Yeah, still 4 minutes on the clock for this one. That's plenty of time for things to change here at Kimbolton. End of lap number 8. Still this top 5 pack, and here we go. Now the scrap is on. Gibson just moving to the middle of the road there. Newstead looks to have moved back up to 2nd place. Hibbert's continuing to gain positions. He's having a scrap there with Oscar Kenny again down into turn 1 for 12th place. Back with our race leaders. It's the number 5 from the 4 from the GP, from the 146 and then the 142. 5 very experienced drivers at this level and at a continental level as well. How are Clark and Ferguson getting on? Well, Ferguson's looking keen there, Chris, to get through.
Yeah, he is. He's doing purple sectors as well on this lap, and Daniel Ferguson looked like he was going to go for a move there. Alfie Davidson, meanwhile, has taken 3rd place. So a split as Daniel Ferguson there saying to George Clark, let's go. Let's work together to try and close this gap down, but there we go. There comes a change from Daniel Ferguson. So a change in approach, and Daniel Ferguson, one of the quickest drivers on track, now in P6.
And in a strange way, this could give George Clark a good opportunity, because with a bit of a quick driver up ahead, these 2 drivers can work in tandem perhaps more effectively now to close that gap that's around 0.9 of a second.
Yeah, the signal I think was given to go by, and Daniel Ferguson is absolutely flying in that 115 kart. Last time round, just having a look, 45.1, 45.2 for the leaders. The gap is closing.
This is also rummaging things around, changing things up for the intermediate classification. Alfie Davidson at the moment would be on pole for the superheat tomorrow with 3 points scored over these 2 races. Gibson, Patterson, Newstead and Ferguson currently at the top 5. But again, look at these scraps. This is Margus Kovetskis there going up against Charlie Clough. That's for 10th place. Clough, who started on the 4th row of the grid, changes towards the front. Davidson has worked his way through. It's all been shuffled up again. Gibson has been slotted back down into 3rd place, so it's Austin Newstead who now leads.
Yeah, and there's a gap, isn't there? 3rd place, that was a big move that happened there, and all of a sudden, Austin Gibson is being forced to defend that 3rd place. Daniel Ferguson has caught that cue, but a 2-kart breakaway has now formed. Oh no!
And I think that's one of the stewards off there. Henry Clark possibly as well as for Johnston Stewart, Ilya Sami. In fact, quite a few drivers I think might be involved in that. Chester Forks, Henry Clark, Johnston Stewart, who we saw on screens, George House and Ilya Sami have all fallen down the order. Wow. Meanwhile, it's continuing to go on at the front here. Ferguson has caught up to the main pack, has got ahead of Colby Patterson and the GP plate of Christian Kobe. So it's Newstead leading this one from Davidson. That's good for Davidson, would give him pole position for the Super Heat tomorrow. And then the chasing pack of Gibson in 3rd. Ferguson now up to P4. This has been a tremendous run for Daniel Ferguson again. 13 positions gained.
Yeah, that was some move into the chicane last time as well. He drifted it in, and Colby Patterson, hand up. I don't think he could quite believe what had gone on there. Will we see the same this time? No. Austin Gibson in the 5 defending, so door is closed on Daniel Ferguson. But 13 places, as you said, Game. This is a superb drive ahead of those crucial super heats tomorrow, and it's getting close for 3rd place. Look how close it is out front, though. It's all going off here, Andrew.
Yes, it's not done yet, is Daniel Ferguson. He could have 14 positions, and here he goes down the inside on Ozzie Gibson. Ozzie Gibson tries to fight it around the outside, but nothing is stopping Daniel Ferguson in this race. 2 laps to go. The leaders cross the line with about 6 seconds on the clock, so the timer has expired now. But the final lap board is not out yet. Newstead, Davidson, you've got to think that these two will just work together now. There's nothing to be gained for Alfie Davidson by overtaking in this situation. He already has pole position for tomorrow's Super Heat. Newstead at the moment will be on the outside of the front row and ahead of all of his nearest title rivals. So whilst it wouldn't be where he exactly want to be on pole position, it's still pretty good in terms of championship. Gibson and Ferguson are still giving it to one another. There's a good scrap going on as well for Oscar Kenny and others further back. Final lap board is now out, Chris, and it's looking like these two are going to run this one home.
Yeah, that was a great move, wasn't it, from Daniel Ferguson? One of the moves of the day. Looks like the 2 drivers up front happy to stay where they are. You can see Alfie Davidson pushing Austin Newstead, possibly thinking of points here, playing the long game in this race. But that battle for 4th still very intense, Andrew, with Austin Gibson now being forced to defend for 4th place.
Absolutely. Leaders coming down towards Kestrel Corner through that left-hander, braking for the right-hander of Kimbolton Corner. And then onto the loud pedal. Austin Newstead puts last week behind him and is on form here at Kimbolton. Wins heat number 2. Alfie Davidson's 2nd place means that Davidson will start tomorrow morning's Super Heat on pole. Daniel Ferguson, 14 positions gained to come home in 3rd ahead of Austin. Ozzie Gibson in 4th. Colby Patterson will start on the inside of row number 2 with that 5th place. There is the 173 of Johnston Stewart. So Johnston not able to make the end of this race. It is a real shame for Johnston. He was very quick yesterday during free practice, but will sadly have work to do tomorrow in the Super Heat. All drivers will make the final. There's no concern about a top 34 cut-off this weekend because we've got a field of 28. But for those drivers there, they will be happy with their day's work, Chris. Fusion Motorsport looking in imperious form once again.
Yeah, and I think good driving from the top 2. They took advantage of a gap that had been created, worked together all the way to the end. No need to have furious last lap battles in the heats. They're going to wait for the finals, all about getting those points on the board. So sensible drives from the Water Swift drivers. But how about that from Daniel Ferguson made some fantastic moves. That one into the final corner, selling the dummy into the final corner. That was super.
Well, the move to the BMR restart team really starting to pay dividends. There's your provisional results from heat number 2, race 5 for Water Swift, Austin Newstead from Alfie Davidson, Daniel Ferguson, Austin Gibson and Colby Patterson all in the top 5. George Clark, Christian Kobe, Harry Williams, Luca Narroway and Mason Hibbert, who gave us some good entertainment there with the onboard camera. That's your top 10. Oscar Kenny, Charlie Clough, Margaret Kovetskis, Joseph Davis and Ethan Owen, all in the top 15s. So that's 2 top 15s for the Welsh driver in the 127. He was also your top rookie in that race. Danny Dempsey, good drive, up 10 spots to P16 ahead of Ethan Robinson, Ruben Segura, Ryan Meadow and Andy Stewart. Jack Harney, Sophie Campbell, Ada O'Brien, Henry Clark, George House were into the drivers who had problems now. Clark, House, Chester Fawkes, Ilyas Sami, all held up but saw the checkered flag. Johnston Stewart, your single retirement in that race. That leaves us looking like this in the IC. Davidson and Newstead row 1, Patterson and Ferguson row 2, Gibson and Clark row 3, Narroway and Hibbert row 4. Good race that, Chris.
It was very good, wasn't it? And not just the heats, it will be more intense for the final. This was one of the moves that kicked it off, wasn't it? The 142. That was George Clark. There were 3 leaders, wasn't there, in the first 2 laps?
Yeah, Water Swift delivering once again, as it has done across the course of the season. Newstead and Kobe had a good scrap once again at the front of the field, like they did at PF International 6 days ago on Grand Prix Sunday. Good effort from the Excel Motorsport drivers. I was loving the number of overtakes. Turn 1 for Mason Hibbert seemed to be a hot spot.
Yeah, it really was. We got some lovely onboard shots of that, and then this is where we saw drivers making moves. The lead queue, Austin Newstead, Alfie Davidson, began to work their way through that. A good move from Davidson at the final corner. That was what we didn't quite see, wasn't it? This was the move from Ferguson. Look at that. Good driving from Gibson on the outside. Good racing room given by both. And then Newstead and Davidson create the gap. And 1 and 2 out front ahead of Ferguson.
Indeed. Let's head down once again to Piers Pryor.
Austin Newstead, Heat 2 winner. That was a bit easier than the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot easier, obviously. Then I got an alright start, managed to keep P3.
The first start on the outside, you found out it's quite tricky around here at Kimbolton, didn't you? You got shuffled backwards. You know, what did you change in your outlook going into the race start that time that helped things?
I was just trying to get around it a bit more cleanly, and hopefully keeping it a bit closer to everyone so I could get around the corner, still in the few people.
It seems like this weekend already in both heats we've had breakaway 2 and then the rest of the fighting pack. How important is it to try and get a good start, and what can you do to try and avoid being in that pack in the middle where it becomes, you know, risky?
Yeah, because if you have a bad start, then you're obviously not going to be at the front, and normally there's a couple breaking away or a little pack breaking away, and if you're not in that front few, you're not going to be able to be in that pack.
A lot of teammates around you this weekend, of all the Fusion boys right up the front. Is that going to make it easier or harder going into the end of the weekend?
Sometimes it makes it harder, but again, like you saw then, if Alfie Davidson's there, we know we worked together fine, and he knew that I needed more points than him, so he just pushed me away over the line.
Well, there we go. Austin Newstead, winner of Heat 2. I'll let you go and cool off after what's been a very hot day of racing. Water Swift Restricted is up next after a word from our partners.
Welcome back, everybody, to Kimbolton, event 7 for this year's Wera Tools Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. Big thanks to Chris McCarthy joining us in the Coleman's box. If you're around the circuit and you haven't heard the message, 5:30 p.m. For the free media training session led by Neil Cole and Chris McCarthy on behalf of the Purple Sectors organisation. If you haven't got signed up, it's after the racing is finished for the IAME categories as well. So you won't be missing any of the racing action here on track. Do sign up. Be great to see as many faces as possible in support of that one. For now, though, we're going to get ready again for another race. Race 6, Water Swift Restricted Heat 2 is next. Let's take you through the grid then of 14 drivers set to go once again in IAME Water Swift Restricted. LBJ Stubbs has pole position and the early intermediate classification lead. Starts on the front row alongside Benjamin Schlivar. Arthur Bowers starts on the inside of row 2 alongside Bodie Batch. On row 3 we'll find DMS's Jaden McElhenney and the privateer Logan Hodgetts. Row 4, Ollie West and Corey Lyons.
Row number 5, it's Toby Biggs alongside Frank Morris. And from 6, we have Freddie Baker with Louis Williams-Mabs. Row number 7, final row of your final Water Swift Restricted Heat, is Harry Murphy alongside Patrick Wood.
Results from heat number 1, Stubbs from Batch, from Schlivar, McElhenney, Lyons, West, Bowers, Hodgetts, Wood and Biggs. That was your top 10. We're racing in IAME Water Swift Restricted down towards the first corner, and Schlivar trying to go around the outside. Oh, Stubbs got a bit crossed up there. That's going to offer an opportunity for Arthur Bowers to step through and take the race lead in the number 99 Kart. Be interested to have a look there at what happened with Stubbs. Was that simply a case of too much speed into turn 1? Well caught oversteer as Corey Lyons is out of the race. Now, I thought I heard a Kart sounding a little bit poorly out there, Nicole. I wonder if it was Corey Lyons. Either way, the Irish driver out of the race has changed for the lead.
Immediately on the response is Stubbs and wastes no time to get that race lead back. There we go then. Corey Lyons looks like he's been repaired and will join the circuit at turn number 1, but maybe that's going to throw a bit of a spanner in the works for the field as they start to catch up, because of course now Lyons will be a back marker. Stubbs leads from Bowers and Jaden McElhenney. Your two drivers that started further up the order at the race start with Stubbs included Bodie Batch and Benjamin Schlivar. Both drivers have dropped further down the order in these early stages. Schlivar currently finds himself with a 7th-place loss to sit in P9, and Batch is down there just by 1 position in P5 behind Oliver West. Through the left-hander they go. Arthur Bowers right on the tail of Stubbs, down the inside. That's a move for P2 by Jaden McElhenney on Bowers. That now means McElhenney is your highest up DMS driver. So for the time being, it will be XL versus DMS. Stubbs into turn 1, still under pressure. Hasn't pulled away like we've seen from him in other rounds, especially at the likes of GYG, where throughout the entire weekend we saw him and Batch pull away together. As Batch, now we mention his name, goes down the inside, Oliver West. That now brings him back up to where he started. So P4 currently for the Argenti driver.
Yeah, really good stuff once again from these restricted drivers. I love that move from Jaden McElhenney 1 lap ago. Can he make it work again in towards Kimbolton corner? He's having a think about it. You can just see him edging to the inside there. This is the scrap for 4th place. Ollie West going up against Bodie Batch. Round the final kink and towards Stowe corner once again. McElhenney, the fastest driver on circuit of 47.45, is there down the inside as the number 78 of Benjamin Schlivar fighting back. It's just fallen in the early stages of this one, but is still holding inside the top 10. Patrick Woods made good progress again, Nicole, the driver who didn't take part in timed qualifying earlier on today after an incident during one of the warm-up sessions. He's gone straight back into race trim and is back up into the top 10 once more. Repeat performance of what we saw in Heat 1.
Yeah, big incident for Patrick this morning then, but the team managed to repair the kart. Patrick was given the all clear to race. Now he finds himself making up some really good progress. Progress being carried around then by Jaden McElhenney, 3 places gained, and this is a momentum track, and he's pulling around just that. No major braking zones round here. Really is a fast and flowing circuit, and Jaden is displaying the skills to conquer that, because he has gone purple on the board just behind Stubbs. They've pulled away now from Arthur Bowers in P3, so maybe this is tactical by the DMS driver, just trying to pull away from the remainder of the field before attempting an overtake on the O-plate. They go then through the left-hander. Batch has made some good progress after falling down slightly in the early stages. Maybe this is a question as if Batch is going to try and catch up to his teammate of Stubbs and then try and pull something up, as like we said previously, that back marker of Corey Lyons is starting to be approached now by your front two. Stubbs, McElhenney could find themselves in a bit of bother very shortly if Lyons fails to respond to the two chasers behind him.
5 minutes and 35 seconds of this one to go. Well, if Batch does go on the attack, the problem he's got in a way is that it won't really gain him anything in the longevity of the race meeting. Corey Lyons receives the blue flag, pulls over to one side of the circuit nice and safely, and will slot in behind his teammate. I wonder whether we'll see the number 14 going into pit lane now. There's not really much to be gained, unfortunately, for Corey Lyons. And down towards, he will pull into the pits. That's sensible driving from Corey. A shame, of course, that he will not take part in the last 5 minutes of this race, but will save the tyres a little bit for tomorrow, of course. Here's a scrap for third place. Batch down the inside and gives him that position over Arthur Bowers. Doesn't change his position in intermediate classification. He's got second place as it is at the moment. Of course, drop his score from 6 to 5, as there is the sight of Corey Lyons. Understandably, not best pleased, not the way he would have wanted to end his Saturday.
Absolutely not. Driver then who didn't have the race start that he would have wanted, Schlivar, in P6 currently, dropped down to 9th in the early stages of this race, but is on the response there behind Oliver West. Into turn 1 they go. Both drivers then catching up to Bowers and Batch now. Down the inside, Schlivar looks, but doesn't manage to pull it off. He's not quite close enough to the evolved driver just yet. Batch looks over his shoulder to Bowers, knows that he's right there. Runs slightly wide on the entrance to that corner there towards Derrick's, but recovers well on the exit. Now Oliver West really chasing up to Bowers. This was a good lap then by both West and Schlivar. They are both right there now. Watch Schlivar, looks hungry into the final corner, thinks against it, just bumps the back of West slightly, catches him wide, side by side on the exit of the corner. Who's going to get the run down into turn number 1 then? Schlivar looking like he's just there. The nose is there, but pulls back in. Looks down the inside once more at turn number 1. Holds on to it through Willow. Side by side they go once more. Who's going to get the run? Ollie West comes out in front.
Well dealt with there by Ollie West, although now Schlivar's got a good run towards Derrick's corner and has got through. Good work from Benjamin Schlivar there to not give that one up, and goes back up into 5th place. Logan Hodgett's still there as well, running in 7th place at the moment in the number 74. It's currently the fastest lap holder in this race. Good progress again for the privateer, running at the moment in 7th place. Patrick Wood has gained another position past Freddie Baker just behind this group in 9th place. Meanwhile, back at the front, still on between the top two, Jaden McElhenney goes and sets a purple. Fastest lap, 47.2.
Fastest driver on the track, but still no attempt by McElhenney to overtake Stubbs. Maybe he's put off by the fact that Stubbs has been the strongest driver in this field so far. It's down the inside of Oliver West. Attempts a move by the 74 of Logan Hodgetts. Almost was there, but not quite close enough yet was the Birrell. Right on the tail of the Evolve, though, through Dan Weldon nonetheless. Going back to the Stubbs versus McElhenney fight then. McElhenney faster than Stubbs. Could go for a move. He's within 0.2 of a second of the race leader. Needs to maybe catch up to the back bumper for slightly more, but maybe he's just slightly put off by the fact that Jaden maybe hasn't been this high up the order so far this year, whereas Albie has consistently been there. So watch maybe what Jaden tries to pull off, but still the battle on your screen rages on between Ollie West and Logan Hodgetts. Hodgetts now looking like he could have got the move done on the exit of Derrick's. See if they have traded places, but focus back on the DMS versus the XL. Out of Dan Weldon they go towards the sharp left-hander, and in the background of the screen it was the Birrell that has now finally got past the Evolve of Ollie West.
Indeed. There's not too much to be risked here for LBJ Stubbs. We are at that stage of the season where, yeah, of course, he'd love to win another heat, but he doesn't absolutely need to in terms of intermediate points and championship points. If Jaden McElhenney was to have a go here, wouldn't be surprised to see Stubbs not try and defend it too hard. There is a team aspect, though, because if he can hold on to the lead, he'll help secure a front row lockout for the Super Heat tomorrow with Bodie Batch. Bodie Batch currently holding on to that second place on the grid with a 1 point advantage over the driver with the number 77. But remember, 0 points if you win one of these heats in the intermediate standings, 2 points for second place. So if McElhenney could find a way through, that would get him onto the front row of the grid for tomorrow's Super Heat, which you can watch here on your Alpha Live Karting UK and Motorsport UK TV platform. If you're enjoying the broadcast over on YouTube, do click that like button, give it a share, and click the subscribe button as well, so you don't miss a single moment in the championship in 2025. 2 laps to go. Stubbs still leading from McElhenney. No move yet, just nudging the back rear bumper there of the O-plate, maintaining that gap to Bodie Batch, which at the moment is around 1.6 seconds. Bowers still 4th. Schliver, I've got to say, I am thoroughly impressed with Benjamin Schliver, youngest driver in the field. For those who are, wandering around the paddock and might see him getting ready for his races, you turn and you think, hang on a minute, why is a Bambino driver here? He's not a Bambino driver, he is 7 years of age, he is in the year of his 8th, but he is a little bit shorter than the others, but what he lacks in height, he makes up for with grit and determination, and is continuing to get stronger and stronger, quicker and quicker. Don't rule out the chances of a podium, which he just missed out of course, at GYG earlier on in the season. Don't count out a podium chance on Sunday for Benjamin Schliver. But meanwhile, Nicole, back at the front of the field, Stubbs and McElhenney starting to fight a bit.
Yeah, McElhenney then on the previous 2 laps has been faster, but it looks like this one he's going to run out of time. Maybe should have tried to pull something off earlier on, but for now, Stubbs looks strong out there in the front, will head out of that final corner and will be rewarded that checkered flag. Once more then, Stubbs, LBJ Stubbs, sees the black and white flag first. Another heat win under the belt of the XL driver. Jaden McElhenney, no, don't count him out this weekend. No. A 3-place gain to be in P2. That was a good race by the driver sporting the DMS livery. They then finish ahead of LB Stubbs' teammate of Bodie Batch. It was a 1-place gain to round out the top 3. And then we had Arthur Bowers and Benjamin Schliver as your top 5. Schliver then started right at the front, dropped back at the start then. It was a 3-place loss overall, but a good response,
really good response.
To losing those places.
Yeah, and that's what impressed me most in that race from Benjamin Schliver, Nicole. Speed is one thing, but being able to fight back when things haven't gone your way is a very, very good sign for one of the youngest drivers, the youngest driver in the field. You can just see there in the background, about to go through into the scrutineering bay. There's Jaden McElhenney, looking good this weekend to at least start shoring up 3rd place in the championship come the end of the season. There is, of course, one more double-header to go after this one, but if it is going to be an XL Motorsport 1-2 in the championship, which is starting to look likely, Jaden McElhenney is right there in 3rd. Arthur Bowers impressive in that race as well there, Nicole. Easy to forget this is only Arthur's 2nd race weekend in 2025 in this championship. Well, he's definitely looking like he belongs up amongst the front runners. Another 4th place there. And again, just in the background behind Colby Patterson's 124 kart that's just finished its scrutineering session from the previous race, Benjamin Schliver, pushing the kart himself over the weighbridge. We'll see those drivers again for their super heat tomorrow. That will be, as I consult our timings, that will be at 11:30 tomorrow. It'll be our 3rd race of the day, and we'll see if LBJ Stubbs can secure himself another 65 championship points. McElhenney will start on the inside of row number 2. And it's that same 1, 2, 3 who will take positions 1, 2, 3 on the grid for that superheat, just in a subtly different order. Batch will be on the outside of row number 1. Bowers, Schlivar, Logan Hodgetts, Ollie West, Toby Biggs, Patrick Wood, Freddie Baker, that was your top 10 in that one. Frank Morris, Harry Murphy, Louis Williams-Mabs, the 13 finishers, 1 retirement from the race. Corey Lyons.
Good stuff by Patrick Wood. Again, 5-place game, matched his Heat 1 result with a P9. So the response in some bad luck in previous sessions this weekend, really good by Patrick.
And coming back from what won't have been a nice moment, earlier on this morning, Nicole, when putting your driver's hat on, when you've had a problem like that, when you've had a bit of an incident in practice, how hard is it to kind of get yourself back into position to go, right, back into racing, we're all okay? How do you all almost get back on the horse in a way?
Well, you've just stole the phrase right out my mouth. I think for drivers, when they have big moments, the quickest thing you need to do is just get back on the horse straight away. Don't give yourself that time to sit there and ponder it, because you're just going to get put off. I think jump straight back into things, prove to yourself that you can circulate, in a good position, that incidents like that really aren't going to affect you too much. You'll be fine. And also try and remind yourself of all the sessions, all the laps you've ever done without a problem. And I think that for drivers is really important. Some drivers take incidents, more sensitively than others. It depends on who you are, but drivers, just jump back on the horse. But for now, Piers Pryor down there in Parc Fermé. He's with Albie J. Stubbs. Let's see what Albie's got to say.
Reaction with our drivers of 40 Swift Restricted Heat 2. Albie J. Stubbs, our winner in the end. Albie, another win this season. You're getting used to this top step. Top 2 breakaway again. Not so easy that time for you, though.
No, it was much harder. I haven't been racing against Jaden that much, but I managed to control the race, and it was a good, fair race.
It was a good, fair race. Good to see clean racing between you two. Jaden was very quick. Looks like he took a step forward in that one, or were you struggling?
I think he took a step forward.
Great, and you have to build and evolve as the weekend goes on. The track changes, the tyres go off. Are you making any changes to the way you're driving the kart or the way you're setting it up between sessions?
I don't know what my mechanic's doing, but sometimes I have to change a few bits on track, but other than that, then it's not much.
Right, so tomorrow, of course, the day that matters. What are you thinking about going into tomorrow?
Hopefully I can just control the races and win the final.
Albie, another win in the heat, so we'll let you go off and cool off as we grab Jadon McElhenney, who made a step forward in that one, 2nd place in that heat, pushing our championship leader all the way. That must feel pretty good.
Yeah, it definitely does.
And did you take a step forward in terms of pace in that one? Was there a change in the car? Did you change your driving at all?
I changed my driving. There's no change in the car.
Oh, really? Okay. So what did you change with your driving? Was it the way you were... Just talk to us about what you changed.
I just decided to push harder.
Amazing, of course, pushing hard, especially around a circuit like Kimbolton. Very important. Do you think you can get one over and maybe take a victory even tomorrow?
Probably.
Amazing. Jaden McElhenney, congratulations, a good result. We'll see if you can push on from that. Right, we've got a couple of minutes before we head towards the next race. It's going to be Junior X30, so we'll do a bit of a walk and talk. We're in here, Parc Fermé. This is where all the karts come after the races, all the checks done. The drivers leave their tyres here as well to make sure that there's no funny business going on with tyres. They pick them up ahead of the next event. And then we head out of Parc Fermé now. You're okay, Luke. It's all good. Luke's backing up here. He's doing an excellent job behind the camera. And then this is what the drivers see when they come into Parc Fermé. So on the way in, bumpers are checked, tyres scanned, engines scanned, make sure that everything is as it should be. Of course, very much controlled here in the Wera Tours British Kart Championships. Thank you very much for all your scanning work there. And then this is the area where the drivers and teams come in. They then fit their tyres, which they will collect from the tyre scrutineers. Again, those are one set of slick tyres for all of the classes. They've got wet tyres, well, if they need them. But I think in this wonderful late summer sun, we're unlikely to need it. Joao Castro there also just making sure his engine's working okay. This is the final checkpoint of checking to make sure everything's firing and working okay. Slick tyres being fitted here. You can see the number 5, Lewis Bird, had a good race through in that last one, if I'm not mistaken. Started 13th. I said keep an eye out for him. I think he finished 7th on the road. Let me check. The number 5 actually was 4th after a couple of penalties. So yeah, really, really good result there. This is senior up next. Junior is coming up in a moment, so we'll duck underneath. So, can you duck underneath here, Luke? There we go, look at that. Good work. Only 30 seconds before we're going to Junior X30 racing. This was really good to watch earlier on. I'm looking forward to this final heat of today, Junior X30.
Junior X30 Heat 2 up then next, and this is going to be a good one. We're led on the front row then by Argenti driver of Finn Lines alongside Riley Cranham, your O-plate. Row 2 is George Edgar with Archie Owen, and then going from row number 3 we have Mick Barrett taking the 3rd row, Nat Johnstone with Ty Buckley. Row number 4 will be Aaron Richardson, and Sukhmani Kira is alongside him.
Row there on row 4. Rocket Lee and Shenton and Isaac Sayer take this race from row number 5. Max Ewell and Freddie Wood on row number 6. Mayan Patel and Harley Musk go from row 7. Jacob Backler and Zach McDonald complete row number 8.
Row number 9 is Archie Rogers Tyler with Max Endicott, and from 10, Oliver Meek and Alexander De Benedictus. Then John Richardson, Aaron Meta, Jack McLaughlin and John Foley Jr. round out your strong grid of 24 karts. Drivers then getting themselves lined up out of the final corner, Kimbolton corner. Revs raise then through towards those tram lines under the start-finish gantry, and we are racing. Lines then hugs that white line towards turn number 1, owns the front row. Cranham trying to hang it round the outside, gets squeezed off onto that rumble strip, loses 2 or 3 positions and has to settle ahead of Buckley. You think that's Nat Johnstone who has got ahead, as now on board we can see Fred Wood trying to push forward 4 positions, but looks like he's been caught out by the likes of Harley Musk and Mayan Patel.
Yeah, it was a bit tight there on the inside line through Derek's corner. Just a quick rundown of how things are looking in the intermediate classification, of course. Edgar from Owen, Shenton, Lines, Buckley, Kira, Wood and Richardson, the top 8. The only penalties given out in the first race were Nat Johnson dropped into 18th. Oliver Meek was dropped to 22nd, so nothing, no further action needed for the Patel and Shenton moment. Kira and Owen going side by side there. Nice move by the 244 up into 7th place. Shenton through as well to P6. Finley Lines, much stronger start this time around, Nicole, for Finley Lines. He had good race pace in the middle phase in heat number 1, so this bodes well for a strong score.
Absolutely does, but he is under pressure by George Edgar in second. There's one of the drivers further back, I think that was one of the Crocs, maybe Oliver Meek, was getting forced out onto the exit rumble strip, almost had a big moment on the grass. Turn number 1 though, overtaking opportunity, and Riley Cranham has just used that, finds himself once more back inside the top 3, wastes no time to get ahead of Nat Johnston. Used that fastest lap on the early stages, is back in the background. That was Patel being put under pressure. Max Ewell using his elbows to get aggressive and put back the E-plate driver, who's now finding himself under pressure by Isaac Sayer in that Jamie Green. Through they go once more towards the left-hander, and that moment then for Buckley gave himself some room as down the inside. Now Rocco Shenton is on the attack once more. He's just got past Buckley. Now Cranham on the attack, gets himself into P2 ahead of Edgar, and they are still on the tail of Lines then, so this overtaking has not broken any momentum. It has not given Finn the breathing room that maybe he would have liked out there in the race lead. Train of 4 karts though fighting out for this P1 as once more we go on board with Fred Wood. He's got a bit of a gap then to the driver ahead of him. Does look like to me maybe the back bumper of the BMR driver of Max Endicott. Final corner on the entrance they go. Still Lines looking strong on the attack there in the front. Doesn't look like he's been rattled by one of the strongest drivers within this championship so far, of Riley Cranham.
But I wonder, Nicole, how much of the maths and the championship permutations will Riley Cranham be doing right now? Because he's got George Edgar behind him, his closest adversary in the title stakes. Finley Lyons is looking good for taking one of the top 10 seed plates into 2026, but is a bit further back in the championship. He's kind of had your classic mini to junior season of had really good pace, not quite the consistency to deliver a full championship charge this year, but hey, let's see where we are in 12 months' time for Finn. Finn's in a nice position that he could potentially take George Edgar away some points. This is all going out the window, folks, because Riley Cranham's just gone down the inside and taken the race lead. Thank you, Riley. But, you know, I was wondering whether he was just going to sit there. In the end, it was a very calm move from Riley Cranham. It was very much on. But it's kind of like the damage limitation job for him right now. Drivers being ahead of George Edgar would be very useful for him in championship stakes. Hopefully with some far more accurate and relevant information is Piers Pryor down in the pits.
Watching the start there, Finley Lyons clearly learned from his first start, braking later into turn one. Cranham tried to do what Owen did last time around, but couldn't get it done. But interesting, I've been watching the mid-pack, and turn one is a place where you can gain a position easily, yes, but also you can lose 2 or 3 in one go. I've seen a couple of drivers just shove wide at the exit of turn one, and it's very dirty. You can drop off the circuit and lose a lot of positions. And I feel like it's one of those circuits that you kind of very much need to stay with a lot of momentum.
Yeah, exactly that, Piers. You know, hit the nail on the head there. Whilst Piers was explaining that to us, an on-track 5-second penalty has been given to Mayan Patel, and now another one has just been given to Max Yule. So they're both drivers that are 8th and 9th, but will very quickly find themselves right down at the back of the order. Currently, as the times stand, they'll find themselves in 23rd and 24th. As now Sukhmani Kira out of the final corner has been overtaken by Endicott, as now Archie Owen, BMR teammate of Endicott, gets overtaken by not 1 but 2 positions, because Shenton and Buckley have now got themselves into 5th and 6th. Shenton then holding on to that very nicely. Doesn't put off Archie Owen off the scent of that P5. These 3 drivers are battling it out for that final spot in the top 5. Further ahead in the field, Shenton getting a bit shaky there on the defensive line. Defensive posture was used, still holds on to that through the final corner as well. That backs up Buckley into Owen as well. And that brings the likes of Patel, McDonald and Yule ever closer. Because of that defensive driving, I think Shenton is doing this intentionally now, backing up the pack into each other, as Zach McDonald is now your newest driver to go in on Archie Owen.
And Zach McDonald having a really good race here. Is your biggest mover, up 7 positions on the road, and with those 5-second penalties for the likes of Patel and Ewell. Well, he's got past Max Ewell, but right now Zach McDonald would take or be one of the beneficiaries for the plus 5 seconds for Mayan Patel. Keep your comments coming in. Hello to Jensen Hookey. Not heard from Jensen in a couple of years, so good to hear from you, mate. Black flag for Isaac Sayer. I think that's going to be in response. Yeah, he's gone round a few laps under a technical flag and has not come to serve that. So the orange disc disappears and it becomes a full black flag for the driver flying the colours for Singapore. Not the best of races for Isaac. Meanwhile, Shenton having to work really, really hard right now. At the moment, he would be on the inside of row number 2 for the superheat tomorrow. Be a useful place to be, but Rocco not looking completely comfortable at the moment. But one does not simply pass Rocco Lee and Shenton. That was a nice move once again from Zach McDonald. Zach McDonald looking really good this weekend. Unfortunately, in time qualifying earlier on. But I think that was a bit of a blip, Nicole, because the pace we saw from the F1 Kids superstar yesterday in free practice is shining back through in the race.
Absolutely is. Caught up with Zach and his mum Tinu earlier this morning. She said, you know, this is a really strong circuit for Zach. Just didn't have that qualifying result. You know, it's one of those things in quali, you can be the fastest driver out there, but if you're not in a good track position, if you trip over somebody, it very quickly falls apart. I think that's maybe what happened for Zach. But he's responded well within this race. 9 places gained so far, and he is catching up to Buckley and Shenton there in 6th and 7th. He's looking very, very good. they can visibly see him. You know, he's edging closer and closer, especially because Shenton continues to back up Buckley there. They've arrived now. They are right there. Donald on the inside is going to pull it off on Buckley. Has to think again. Oh, no, he's done it. He has pulled it off. Now the privateer driver of McDonald finds himself ahead of the Mick Barrett. Pierce Pryor, I think, is down there once more. Pierce, what have you got for us?
George Edgar struggling with pace. This is actually the furthest down the field we've seen him at any point this weekend. He's not been outside the top 2 in practice until qualifying, and this is the first time we've seen him outside the top 3, and he's lacking genuine pace, like he's dropping off the back here. Not sure if something's going wrong.
Good spot there, Pierce. He's in a bit of a lonely spot. He'll have lost the toe off the back of Nat Johnston. But yeah, we'll monitor that situation. Bit of a tough day so far for Aaron Richardson as well, Nicole. To see the Fusion 252, the back of that group with Owen Patel and Buckley. Warning flag now for Archie Owen in the 240. Just over a minute to go then. And Riley Cranham continues to lead this race from Finley Lyons and Nat Johnston. We join on board with Freddie Wood heading through Kestrel Corner. Nicole, talk us around parts of this lap.
So as just a small glitch there out of the final corner, then the drivers using all of the momentum. They drift quite wide on the exit and run that exit kind of sausage curve.
Freddie!
Big moment there for Wood. That allows 2 or 3 drivers through Willows. That was almost a major one for Wood. Was just P12, but he's going to fall right down the order. I think Musk managed to get past Batchelor, maybe even Endicott as well. As is that Isaac Sayer.
And that's why he's got a black flag, Nicole. So the initial technical flag, I would imagine, has come in for that rear trailing bump. You can see it on the rear right corner. It's come loose. That's a safety concern. That's a pretty slam dunk technical flag. Now, Isaac really needs to come in here, otherwise he's going to be in a lot of trouble with the race officials, because the black flag has been shown. I've seen it with my own eyes out on circuit. We are not quite on the last lap yet. Isaac Sayer really needs to be in on this lap, Nicole.
Absolutely does. You know, is it the question, is he ignoring, or is he just genuinely fixated on the race that he's not seen it? It's a lack of driver focus because he's not seen that notification. You need to be paying attention, and he's not done that. He's still out there, and I think very shortly he's going to find himself in a spot of hot water. The drivers in that mid-pack section are also in a similar position, because the likes of Patel, Owen Richardson and Max Yule are all involved with each other. Final lap these drivers will go. Cranham still out there in the lead as this pack still battling away. Patel gets ahead of Richardson, but let's not forget that Patel has got that 5-second penalty. Currently they're in 8th, but he will fall right down the order to around about 20th. Live feed of Fred Wood once more, chasing around Jamie Green's teammate there. That is further back down in the order. So let's talk about your man at the front. Riley Cranham, 3/10 clear of Finn Lyons, looks over his shoulder, and completely night and day different to that bad luck that he had in his first race with that technical flag. Replicates it, gets some points on the board going into racing tomorrow. Cranham once more, full fusion, back on top.
Isaac Sayer did not come in and serve the black flag. Yeah, that's not good.
He's going to be in trouble. That is, it's not what you want to see.
We'll move on from that. Cranham, though, back on form, showing that he's got the skills here this weekend. Now, what has happened here to Oliver Meek? Now, it's a straight into the pits at the end of turn 1, so they don't do a cool-down lap. Oliver looks to have potentially lost drive there, but as I say, he's got a very short push back into Parc Ferme. So Cranham from Lyons, Johnson, Edgar and McDonald. Yes, Edgar was losing a bit of pace, but we say he was losing a bit of pace there. Was it also a little bit of clever strategy from the gold medalist in the FIA Motorsport Games last year? Because he's got pole. He's got pole for the tomorrow's superheat, and he was kind of in one of those positions of, look, there's nothing as long as I can hold position on the road, I'm not going to lose anything in terms of the wider weekend. I'd be interested if Piers can take a quick look at, you know, what are Edgar's tyres looking like in comparison to everybody else, because I'm being hopeful here, but he might have played a bit of a blinder there.
Yeah, you know, he could have had some sort of actual technical gremlin where he changed something on the kart, or maybe was a bit too low, a bit too high on the pressure, and that's why he tailed off. Or maybe it was actually tactical. Like you said, preserving a bit of a tyre strategy, knows that he's the leader of the intermediate classification, doesn't need to push too hard and make a mistake that could cost him that IC lead.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, you know, if he'd moved past Johnston or had the opportunity, he wouldn't have gained anything in terms of tomorrow. We'll wait and see on that one. Cranham from Lyons, Johnston, Edgar, McDonald, Shenton, Buckley, Patel and Richardson all in the top 10 on the road, completed by Archie Owen. Harley Musk, Max Ewell, Jacob Bashler, Freddie Wood and Isaac Sayer all in the top 15 on the road. But as we say, Sayer was shown the black flag, and for a number of laps before the checkered in that one. We'll keep on top of that situation. Max Endicott, Sukmani Kira, Alexander De Benedictis, Oliver Meek, John Richardson, Aaron Meta, Jack McLaughlin, Archie Rogers Tyler and John Foley Jr. complete the top 24. In terms of intermediate points, Edgar from Lyons, row 1 for tomorrow, Shenton and Owen, row 2, Buckley and Richardson, row 3, McDonald and Johnston, row 4. I'm really intrigued to see what Zach McDonald can do there from the inside of row 4.
Yeah, me too then, Andrew. Busy start to our race. Patel was getting all involved right in the early laps, of course, was given a 5-second penalty quite early on as well. We were on board with Freddie Wood for the entire race. Had a bit of a difficult one at stages. And as did Riley Cranham in the race start, dropped further back down the order, but at turn number 1, picked up that race lead once more. Shenton versus Buckley versus Archie Owen was a story in the mid-stage. It's played out quite aggressively at some stages. Shenton, I think, quite tactically backed the pack into each other, let them trip over each other, and then sort of started to try and drive away with the Mick Barrett. This was kind of the stage that we saw Zach McDonald really try and light it up. Did have a go at overtaking Rocco Shenton, but it wasn't quite enough on the exit of Willows. Managed to eventually get it done though, and managed to eventually achieve an 11th place gain to be the last driver within your top 5. Piers Pryor, though, is down in Parc Ferme with Riley Cranham, so let's see Riley's version of events.
Riley Cranham, winner of Heat 2. Heat 1 didn't go to plan, but that's a good way to bounce back.
Yeah, it's a good way to bounce back. I mean, I'm not going to be doing great in the points because of the result in the first one, but we're going tomorrow happy because I know the pace is there. We're going to see what we can do.
It looked like you actually took a step forward in terms of pace, actually, I'd say, in that race. Like, you could control the front of the race.
Yeah, I controlled it very well. The pace was good. Hope I can do the same tomorrow, but obviously I've got to come from the back of the grid, so we'll see how we get on.
Will it play a big factor, the fact that your tyres done a little bit less than the drivers around you?
I think it's going to help, but I don't think it's going to be a massive margin. I still think tomorrow's going to be hard for me and everyone. I think everyone's quick enough to win, so we'll just see how we go.
Well, I look forward to it. Riley, we'll let you go and cool off, and I'm going to grab Zach McDonald because I don't know if the TV cameras caught it, but Zach, 5th place, first of all, epic, nice race.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was really eventful, but we got through there in the end.
Very eventful. Top 5, and also I was watching that last corner, the last lap, first corner. Takes a little move around the outside. That must have felt pretty good.
Yeah, 100%. It's a confidence booster. I go well around this track normally, but to be able to do that move, get into the top 5 from 16th, it was a brilliant race.
And do you know what? I think actually you've been in the top 5 on merit this weekend.
Yep.
All the practice sessions you've been there or thereabouts. You've been right there in qualifying and then showing what you can do in that second race. First race didn't quite go your way.
No, 100%. Qualifying, I just got caught up in traffic, and in karting it can really compromise you, but by the time I got through in that heat, showed my pace, into the top 5, I'm just super happy.
How come you're going so well this weekend?
Yeah, I do more Kimbolton club rounds than any other club. I haven't really been up to the other tracks that we've been to this year, but I've been here quite a bit, and I have my pace around here, and yeah, it's just been going really well all weekend.
Hey, practice makes perfect, and maybe we'll see you on the podium tomorrow.
100%, that's what I hope for.
Zach McDonald, there you go. Privateer, right? Yeah, privateer. We love to see a privateer out the front of the field. That was the final Junior X30 race for today. We've got plenty more coming tomorrow, including the finals, of course. The final heat of today is coming up next. That's Senior X30.
Last heat of the day, not quite the last competitive action of the day, but it is X30 Seniors' second heat out of 2 here at Kimbolton. So a really, really tantalising heat number 1 earlier on today, and in what is a very, very close title picture as we head into the run-in. X30 Senior is all set to deliver once again here, Nicole Sutherland. Good conditions for the drivers. They should be enjoying what's out there on track here today.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that when I raced, you know, these were kind of my favourite types of conditions, whether you've got a good level of grip out there on the track, nice and warm for these drivers, and minimum wind out there as well. You know, it's not too windy. There is a bit of a headwind, I think, down the back straight, TKM straight, but other than that, nothing too major for these drivers to deal with. Looking forward to this final race of the day. Of course, led by Fred Lloyd and Gus Lawrence on that first row. It's going to be a feisty one, I would say again.
Don't forget as well, if you're at the circuit, 5:30 p.m, so just under an hour's time, the start of the free media training session provided to you by Purple Sectors, Chris McCarthy and Neil Cole. Great to have both of them on comms and on the broadcast here today. Big thanks for them bringing down that training session that is just today as well. They're not here with us tomorrow, so do take advantage of that. We'll have the Wera Tools Wheel Change Challenge as well later on this evening, all being well, and a bit of a paddock show recording that then you will be able to watch at home during Sunday afternoon. I think though, once again, we can, whilst we've got a little pause, head down to Piers Pryor.
Here on the dummy grid, and there's been a fair amount of change actually. The 621 didn't quite make it to the grid, so everyone reordering at the back of the grid. That's Pedersen, unfortunately not going to be joining us in this race. Didn't catch why, but also last moment drama. Should have been going from 5th place on the grid, should be Harrison Mackie. His car made it to the grid. He has been I believe penalised after a post-race penalty in that last one, and won't be able to take the start of this race. More information on that as we go along. That's literally just happened a moment ago. So everyone from 5th place backwards has moved up 1 place, and everyone from, where's the 621? Everyone from 14th place back has moved up 2 places. So a bit of a jumbled grid. That might look a bit different on the live broadcast. So Andrew and Nicole, do your best to keep you updated with that. But no change up the front. Still Lloyd, Lawrence, Green, and then Whitcomb. Whitcomb had an issue in that previous race with Harrison Mackie. It might have been something to do with that. They didn't finish the race, or Whitcomb didn't finish the race. He'll be trying to bounce back from that after the contact of that one. We've got 1 minute, so I'm going to head further down the order. I mentioned earlier on in the first heat, someone to look out for was Lewis Bird. He had a great result from 13th. I think he finished in the top 5 in the end, so keep an eye out for the number 5 Kart starting there. He's been quick all weekend. It's going to go quick again in this one. Looking forward to this race. Senior X30 never fails to give us some great entertainment.
Thank you very much, Piers. Yeah, developing situations down there for Senior X30. I was overlooking your shoulder, Nicole, whilst you were doing a great job leading the comms with Neil Cole earlier on. I was really impressed with Gus Lawrence and Freddie Lloyd and the maturity which they performed in that previous race, knowing that they're championship contenders, they're right up at the front. You can't win around on, well, especially this weekend, you can't win around on Saturday. You've got to keep yourself in it to win it.
Yeah, exactly that. You know, you don't win championships in individual heats. It's a long game, and this is going to be, I think, a long race for some of these drivers, led on the first row by Freddie Lloyd and Gus Lawrence. Row number 2 looks like Zach Green and repaired Harrison Whitcomb. Good to see that Whitcomb has got that kart all fixed and ready for this one. We should have Harrison Mackie on row number 3 alongside Gabriel Stilp, but Mackie is missing from the grid, so that promotes Stilp. Then on row number 4, we have Morgan Moore with Aaron Brown.
Next row of the grid, Tristan Powell and Reece Newburn. The S8 Racing TB karts look pretty good so far this weekend. CJ Bennett and William Introbus on row number 6, running through the rest of the field. Lewis Bird on his own on row 7, Jack Buckley and Sam Lewis on row 8, Dylan Patel and Jack Nettleship row 9, Theo Lestrange and Luca Mann row 10, Joao Castro and Oliver Harris row 11, Yusuf Alali and Lucian Joyce complete the runners in this one. 22 of them. Green light. Away we go. 10 minutes plus 1. Lap down into the first corner. Bit of a wiggle there for Freddie Lloyd, but he's got it under control. Will lead at the end of the first couple of corners. Looking back from Morgan Moore's Premium Karting 316 there at the number 7 of Aaron Brown. Gus Lawrence already defending, trying to keep that track position. So important round here at Kimbolton, just ahead of Zach Green. Harrison Whitcomb, good start as well, up to P4.
Once again, your top 3 look like Lloyd, Lawrence and Green for the time being, but don't count out Whitcomb and Stilt because they are right there in 4th and 5th for now. Behind them, Morgan Moore looking for more. He is your on-board camera for this race. So we'll be looking at what the premium karting driver can achieve. Looks like maybe he is getting overtaken into turn number 1 by number 7 of Aaron Brown. Goes wide on the exit of turn 1, and he has been done. Now that is Tristan Powell on his back bumper. Brown went quite wide there on the entrance to Derek's. Loses the back of Lewis Bird there, I think. So I don't know what quite went on for Brown then. But now this is the bit. The top 3 are starting to pull away already now. Lloyd, Lawrence, Green just have given themselves that gap from the croc of Gabe Still. He's now got past Harrison Whitcomb for P4. Lewis Bird once more finds himself with a really good early position gain. 7 places promoted currently for the other croc in the high end of your order. Bird then sat there in P6.
8.25 minutes of this race to go then. Lloyd still leading this one from Lawrence. Zach Green holding in 3rd place. Gabe Stilt, for me, Nicole, has been knocking on the door for a really, really big results for a good few weeks. I mean, it's to be expected. 2-time IWF winner, of course, as that's a nice move as well from William Andrews. It's been a bit quiet so far this weekend. Is this final heat of the day the time for Andrews to start stepping up? That's him up to P9.
Highlighting, you were just talking about Gabe Silp, 2-time IWF champion, a big name in the sport, big family in the sport as well are the Stilps. And Gabe is one of those drivers that has dabbled in a bit of single-seater races, was out with High Tech and British F4, but has returned to the Wera Tools British Kart Championship. And, he's still in the sharp end of your order. Really just shows the strength of the championship. It just pulls people back in. And Fred Lloyd is another one of those names. Did a short stint in a bit of Genettas, but once more is back in the karting grid. And once more, both drivers are up at the front. Bird now makes himself your fastest man on the track with 40.75. So race pace, of course, does fall off of qualifying pace as tyres get older and drivers find themselves in heavy traffic as down the inside. That was a big move. That was a very good move as well on Morgan Moore by William Andrews.
Yeah, William Andrews seems to have come alive in this race so far. There's Tristan Powell on the onboard camera. He's got a bit of support as well in the shape of CJ Bennett, his teammate, and down the inside goes Tristan Powell. And, well, that's really nice work. Really, really nice work from the MDLs. Meanwhile, back in the front of the field, fight for the lead is on. Freddie Lloyd holding off Gus Lawrence. 1 point in the championship separating these two at the start of the day. The moment Lloyd would have pole position for the superheat tomorrow, but Gus Lawrence is starting to turn up the wick now before he heads back to the United States. He wants another win here in the Wera Tools British Kart Championships through Kestrel towards Kimbolton corner. Lloyd carries good speed through the medium speed corners. In fact, Lawrence is now going to be on the defensive here from Zach Green. These three went toe-to-toe a few weeks ago at PF International in the previous round of this championship. Freddie Lloyd trying to hold on, just gets the door shut there, Nicole, because Gus Lawrence was about to pounce.
Absolutely slammed the door shut. Did Lloyd, did not want to give Lawrence that breathing or racing room. Still, these three go bumper to bumper through these laps, but Harrison Whitcomb now, because of these drivers backing each other up, is starting to arrive in that Argenti kart. Whitcomb there with a brightly coloured red helmet, recognisable, has absolutely caught up to these front three, as now P2 is taken by Zach Green. He has got the jump on Gus Lawrence out of the final corner, so he will be the newest driver to try and go for the race lead. The newest driver to try and be the first to take down Fred Lloyd this weekend. Through Yamitsu straight they go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lloyd, Green, Lawrence and Whitacombe, but further back in the pack, Bird, Brown, Stilp and Antrobus are starting to catch up. Antrobus pushing hard on the back of the Croc. This train, it did really split out. And I almost called you Anthony Jordan then. Sorry. Andrew Mather. As now we have got a change for the lead. Zach Green makes himself your newest driver, your first driver this weekend to get ahead of the premium of Fred Lloyd.
Oh, but it might not be for long because Lloyd fights back and retakes the lead, and here comes Harrison Whitacombe as well, currently holding 4th place. Zach Green moves across just to cover any kind of opening for Gus Lawrence to hop through. Freddie Lloyd keeping things pretty close here. Doesn't necessarily need to win this race. If Zach Green was to get ahead of him, Lloyd would still have pole position for the Superheat tomorrow. That would all be based on count back and time qualified performance. We'll go back to that in the latter stages of this one, because 3 minutes and 50 seconds of this race to go. Freddie Lloyd continues to hold the race lead. They're all checking where each other are into Stowe Corner. Zach Green in second. Oh, that was a big dive. That was Aaron Brown going in on Gabriel Still, who loses possibly 3 positions there. I think Antrobus and Powell both got through, so that's Stilp down to P9. Got to say, I've been impressed with Zach Green. Got a top 5, his first top 5 in the FIA Karting Championships last week. It was his best result of that particular season to close out the European Championship campaign. He seems to have taken that confidence and knowledge that he is one of the top drivers in Europe at the moment, back here into the Wera Tools British Kart Championships, going toe-to-toe here with Lloyd, with Lawrence, and now getting Lloyd to defend. Green trying to cut back, is trying to open a door there, but Freddie Lloyd again, with such calmness, holds the race lead, Nicole.
Yeah, Lloyd knows how strong Green is then this weekend, because you wouldn't be defending like that if you weren't wary of the pace of the driver behind you. Like you said, Andrew, you know, highlighting the pace of Zach Green to jump from direct driving straight back into Senior X30 and be this quick straight away highlights how good Green actually is. Aaron Brown now, instant 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
That would have been for that moment around turn 1. So Brown currently sat in P6, will find himself further down the order as round the outside Green was forced to go to avoid Lloyd there. I don't think that was intentionally trying to go for a move, just trying to keep things open, try and widen things up. But Lloyd, so good at defensive driving. You know, he can really stick it on that white line and never lose momentum. He's doing just that. So easy to try and defend and end up tripping over yourself. But there, he's driving it like it's the racing line, really not falling off of things.
Here he goes.
But now gets it wrong, slightly out of the sharp left-hander, loses the position to Green out of the final corner. Green, now your driver out in the front. Let's watch how Fred Lloyd responds, because he will try and do just that.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. And I tell you who else is joining the party, Lewis Bird. Good to see Lewis Bird back on form. In the number 5, warning flag out for Freddie Lloyd as well. Just a warning on this occasion. There is the number 5 back on the Croc. He's moving around recently and trying out some different machinery. He's come back, of course, to the Croc promotion team, and it would be really good to see Lewis Bird back in his stride. Had a tough weekend at PF International in the previous rounds of this championship. Just over 60 seconds to go. Zach Green, big lap for this. Really big lap for Zach Green. If he can start to edge a bit of a gap over Freddie Lloyd. Not easy to do here at Kimbolton, especially through these parts of the circuit. This high-speed run into Derricks and then again out towards the Dan Weldon corner. Lots of full power sections around this circuit, which gives slipstreams to those further back. But Zach Green right now, for me, Nicole, is doing the business. He's not allowing Freddie Lloyd to get back within striking distance as we hit 25 seconds to go, 2 more laps of this race.
And because of the current heat results that we've had, if the race was to conclude like this, Fred and Zach would be drawn on points going into tomorrow's superheats, and then obviously we'll see how it plays out for the finals. But the intermediate classification, 2 points goes to Green, 2 points goes to Lloyd. But of course, because of that qualifying result, it is Lloyd that is currently your IC leader.
How much do you risk if you're Gus Lawrence in this situation, Nicole? Because, as I say, it's almost 1v1 between those two at the moment. You know, if Lawrence was to get through, he would take Lloyd off of pole position for the Superheat tomorrow. He wouldn't get back ahead of him himself in the intermediate classification, but he would stick Lloyd on that outside line into Stowe Corner for tomorrow. There would be a good reward there if you can first catch Freddie Lloyd. That's not easily done. And then find a way past. We are on the final lap. I don't think he's going to have the option really, but Gus Lawrence is keeping his title rival on his toes.
Absolutely he is. You know, he's keeping him honest. He's not got time, I wouldn't say, through this final sector to get anything done. I'd say the race might conclude as it is currently. Green from Lloyd, from Lawrence out of the final corner. And it is just that. The checkered flag is rewarded to Zach Green out there in the front. A 2-place gain overall by the Jamie Green Racing driver to take a really well-deserved heat win, I would say, and to take more points on the board, points that now match Fred Lloyd, who finishes in P2. Gus Lawrence then rounds out your top 3, and then Whitcomb and Lewis Bird are your top 5. Bird, 8 places gained to finish in P5. Really, really strong stuff once more for the Grok.
That's so good to see. That's more like it from Lewis Bird. That's the Lewis Bird that we've missed over the past few weeks. So hopefully that is the kind of result that allows Lewis to really soar tomorrow. He'll be in a decent position on the grid tomorrow for the Superheat on the outside of row number 2. So it's Green from Lloyd, Lawrence, Whitcomb, Bird, Aaron Brown 6th, but remember he has a +5. Ooh, that's going to be costly. That's going to drop Brown down to around 15th place.
The sunglasses.
I love that shot. It's great, isn't it? William Antrobus, that was a good race from William. Up P5, 5 places to P7. Tristan Powell, top rookie again. Brilliant job from Tristan. Gabe still up 9th in the end ahead of CJ Bennett. Morgan Moore will likely move back into the top 10 once penalties have been applied, as long as he hasn't got any front fairings or the like himself. Jack Buckley, Jack Nettleship, Reece Newburn and Sam Lewis takes us down to 15th. Theo Lestrange, Dylan Patel, Luca Mann, Joao Castro and Lucian Joyce all in the top 20. Yusuf Alali and Oliver Harris, the last of the 2 finishers, 2 non-starters in that race. Harrison Mackie and Dean Pedersen. We are receiving news that Harrison Mackie will not take any further part in the race weekend. That leaves the intermediate classification. No championship points yet, but the IC looking like this. Lloyd and Green, row 1 for tomorrow. Lawrence and Bird, row 2. Stilp and Powell, row 3. Antrobus and Moore, row 4.
So it went out like this. Moore had a busy race. It was him and Tristan Powell that were fighting it out through the final corner. Traded places quite a few times. Originally, Lawrence did look like he was hungry for the race lead, but Lloyd did what Lloyd does and took it early on. Zach Green took P2, then took P1 out of the final corner, and Lloyd did originally try and respond. It was that kind of outside moment, then went down the inside at Willow, set it up really nicely with that momentum through turn number 1. Still was caught out by Aaron Brown, who was given an on-track 5-second penalty, so Brown will fall right back to the further end of the field. Aggressive there, clearly, by Brown. But the story, the tale of that heat was the race win took by Zach Green, well-deserved, and of course matches then Lloyd on those point standings heading into tomorrow's Superheats. Good stuff by Green. Good stuff, though, once more by Fred Lloyd.
All to play for, isn't it? All to play for in terms of the round and the championship. The timings for tomorrow. Senior X30 Superheat will go from 10 past 12. That will be our 5th race of the day. In fact, we'll stick around as well for the rest of this afternoon. Don't go anywhere. We've still got KZ2 timed qualifying coming up. For now, though, let's head down once again to Pierce Pryor.
We are being treated to some excellent racing in Senior X30, and the man that came out on top of that one, Zach Green. Zach, that was a well-fought race. It looks to me as if like everyone in the top group has roughly the same pace. It's all about how you place your kart tactically.
Yeah, I mean, this track's quite short, so there's not a lot of overtaking opportunities, but the last corner's quite good, so I used that to my advantage and overtook the 2 that started ahead of me in those places and, yeah, got into the lead.
Yeah, you did. I was watching you were trying inside, outside, cut back, tried everything at turn 1, decided, no, not turn 1, the last corner. Now that you've shown your hand, it's probably going to be a bit more difficult going into tomorrow, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm not in the fight for the championship, so there's not a lot of pressure for me. So I'll just let them have their battles and try to use that to my advantage as well.
Absolutely. Zach Green, winner of heat number 2 in Etsy Next Later. We'll let you go and cool off. As you can hear behind me, KZ2 qualifying. Alice, Nicole, over to you.
Thank you very much then, Pierce. Just spoilt it for us. We've had Chris McCarthy in the box today, Neil Cole, and now we've got Alice Powell. Alice, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good. And Alice, what have you been up to recently? You know, world of Formula One, world of Channel 4. How's it going?
Yeah, it's been super busy with the Formula One, with F1 Academy as well. It's been so busy with that and trying to cram in watching as much of the British Karting Championship. Managed to watch Kart Masters last weekend,
yes.
which I managed to avoid the result of the finals until I got home after being with Abby pulling at the GB3 race, and that was my whole evening. Lovely. It was perfect
Taken
with
up.
a pizza. Yeah, it was great.
What more could you want? But this weekend, you know, you're here supporting Ella Stevens out there on track right now for Jade for qualifying. You know, you've been with Ella for a number of years now, coach, a lot of support going out for her, and of course this could be a weekend where she could be crowned a British Kart Championship. You know, tell us about the journey with Ella and also about what she's doing out there on the track right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a big step up for her coming from junior karting, then up into KZ. It's the fastest class out there in karting, pretty much, on short circuit karting. And I started working with Ella when she was a privateer in cadets. Her brother Ben was running her alongside her dad Adrian, and they battled it out against those at the very front. Joined Fusion, who massively helped her progress through her junior karting, and then made the step in with Jade when she went up to seniors. And it's a fantastic class, and it's going to be a close fight between, those three that we've got on screen at the moment.
Well, yeah, like you said, I think this is classic. You've got the three that are vying for a championship, 1, 2 and 3 together out there on the track right now. Drivers then heading through the 3 minutes 40 mark. Ella is currently your fastest driver out on the track, as we've got an early retirement already. So the number 6 is out of this qualifying. That is Derek Morgan, who will not manage to put in a lap then. Ella was quickest in practice, has now got a bit of breathing room from teammate Olive Stewart, who's being overtaken now into turn 1. Drivers just trying to settle down within this qualifying session. Let's not forget, it's not a 3-lap average for our KZ2s. The time is put in over 1 lap. Josh Price now shoots up to the top of the board with a 35.75. But, of course, tyres won't be at their optimum temperature just yet. Practice early on, Ella was fastest. She was ahead of Jake Weston, and Miles Murphy was P3. But for you, Alice, you know, you've dabbled in a bit of KZ2 testing. I think, have you done a few tests with Energy before? You know, tell us about what it's like to drive and big things within this class that you really have to master to be quick.
Well, I can't hold on any longer. I can do about 3-4 sessions. I went round Rissington not long ago, and yeah, safe to say by the end of session 3 my head was falling off, but we'll skip over that part. It's just a great preparation to get yourself ready for cars, and also you have to think a little bit more with the gears that you have to use whilst out on track. Is obviously the start, they do standing starts as well, so having to get those right. So there's a whole host of things that you can do to prepare yourself for KZ. Getting as much testing in as possible is vital, getting the equipment all set up, getting clear track as well. I think that was James Glenister just getting past his teammate there, but it sets you up for cars quite nicely if you're looking to go and make that step forward. We've obviously seen Freddie Slater, he's one to mention that dabbled in doing KZ. Plenty of drivers, and even those on the off. You've got Piastri, Norris, they all go into a KZ car. They're so fast, but they're so physical. A lot of the lap you're driving with one hand off the wheel because you're constantly changing up and down gears, hard on the brakes. It's got front brakes as well, which I think is pretty much the only class in karting that has that now. So a whole host of things, and it's hard work out there.
Yeah, absolutely physical, and I think Noah Wolf is another name to mention. He's a driver that's gone over to do FIA European KZ racing to really try and prepare for cars, because it's the closest thing that probably replicates before you go in single-seaters, would you say?
It is. It certainly is. It gets you thinking a little bit more, and I would say sometimes it's slightly harder to overtake in a KZ as well. And of course, if you're going to a slicks and wings, which many of these drivers might want to aim for one day, that's hard to overtake when you get used to get into a bit of downforce. So it teaches you so much, but karting as a whole, it teaches so many drivers, so many great things, and you're always, even right to the very top, Lewis Hamilton, people like that, they always refer back to karting when they talk about their early days and how much they learned from being in karting.
No, it's insightful. And right, 45 seconds left on the board. Stevens is your fastest driver out there. She leads with a 35.27 on the board. Morgan Porter for more is there in P2 as Jake Weston now takes that fastest lap away from Ella. He is currently on a 35.11. Weston from Stevens, then we've got Porter in P3, Ollie Stewart, another driver fighting out for a potential championship win, has just been overtaken for P4 now. So Josh Price, now your champion from 2024, gets the newest lap within the top 3. But still, Weston holds on to that fastest lap, but it looks like most drivers will be getting one more opportunity. Stevens improves in Sector 1, goes fastest in Sector 2, but drops time in Sector 3 as now Weston has run out of time. Side by side goes Murphy and Oliver Stewart there, maybe catching themselves out slightly. Like we said, Stevens is still on a lap here. Weston is finished. Can she improve within this qualifying session, or no, she's not abandoned, she's still going round. It's 35.11 that Ella needs to improve on. She's dropped time in both Sector 1 and in Sector 2 compared to her previous laps. Doesn't look like it's going to be possible. No, it's not. So, Jake Weston for Sodi has taken your provisional pole time for KZ2. The number 7 sits in P1 with a 35.11 ahead of Ella Stevens and Josh Price, who rounds out your top 3. Morgan Porter is in P4 and Oliver Stewart, another driver fighting for that championship lead, P5. Charlie Turner, James Glenister, Miles Murphy, Ashley Lewis and Ralph Youngling round out your top 10 in this qualifying ahead of James Beercroft, Ryan Green, Alan Kenyon, Jessica Edgar, Isaac Smith, Sam Ward, Lee Ward, Nat Thomas, Brink Inch and Nino Piccoli. Of course, Darren Morgan did not manage to set a quick time. Looks like he will be starting those qualifying heats from 21st. A shame for the P6 last year, the 2024 championship. So then, Alice.
Take a breath.
Yeah, Ella, P2 in qualifying, front row provisionally for tomorrow's races.
It's importantly getting off that line, which we've already talked about in previous practice sessions. It's just about getting that start, but she needs to pick her battles. You know, her main competitor is going to be Ollie Stewart, who's down in 5th place, Miles Murphy, who's in 8th, and I don't think anyone really there, unless those 3 have an absolute disaster, can really sort of take the championship off Ollie, Ella or Miles. So exciting races to be had in KZ, but of course all the classes tomorrow as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for now then, Piers Pryor is down in Parc Fermé, hopefully with our provisional pole sitter of Jake Weston.
Very, very correct there. Provisional pole sitter Jake Weston. Hey, I mean, you've been there or thereabouts in practice. Where did that come from?
I don't know, to be fair. Struggled a bit yesterday. Would have expected to got pole because it's not really a fast time, that, in my eyes. But yeah, we'll take it, I guess.
But did you make any changes to the car or your driving or anything between the practice sessions and qualifying? Of course, we know you went on everyone goes on new tyres for quali as well.
A couple of little tweaks to the go-kart, but nothing too major. Just getting more used to the track, and also there's more rubber going down, which also makes it a lot better.
A lot better, a lot more grip out there. You've got one part of the job done, get it on pole position. What can you do to me be interviewing you for the win at the end of the weekend?
I don't know, we'll have to see. Try to stir the pot, see what happens. Not really in the championship contenders, so see what can happen.
I was about to say that. You've got a little wry smile on your face. I think you're enjoying the thought of maybe getting in amongst it there. We know that Ella Stevens, Oliver Stewart, of course, with Jade are up there, and Thea, I think a few other drivers can get in the mix as well. What's your outlook ahead of this weekend?
We'll just have to see how it goes.
Hey, well, the pace is there on 1 or over 3 laps, so hopefully you can repeat that. Jake Weston, pole sitter for the Sodi for test team. Great job.
Cheers.
Right, that's it. KZ qualifying done. They're going to be going racing tomorrow. Please do join us tomorrow, of course. We've had heats today, or qualifying for KZ. All of the finals are happening tomorrow. Great racing. The weather is booked again. Producer James has organised that for you at home, so thank you very much. It's great to have such great weather. What an awesome circuit. We've had great racing today, and if you've enjoyed today, then tomorrow's only going to be better. We're live from about 10:40 tomorrow. First heat starting about 10:50. Please do join us then here at the Wera British Kart Championships.